Chapter 670. Xiaohu, the tiger form fist is indeed suitable for you. Li Fan looked at Lu Xiaohu, who was rubbing his nose, and said, "But the tiger form fist is not your focus. Today, I will pass on the complete 7-hero fist to you." With that, Li Fan stretched out his hand and used the dragon toad's absorption of water, directly pulling Lu Xiaohu to his side. "Xiaohu, you have never practiced martial arts before. Today, I will pass on 10% of my power to you to help you open up your meridians and reach the point of perfection." Li Fan's dragon toad's absorption of water began to reverse the flow and directly poured true qi into Lu Xiaohu's body. Lu Xiaohu's face turned red, and his whole body felt as if cement was poured into it. It was extremely uncomfortable. He felt his body swollen like it was going to split open. 10% of Li Fan's power was not something an ordinary person could bear. Li Fan's current strength was at the peak of the 5 dragons, and his true qi was pure. 1 dragon was equal to 5 tigers, and 1 tiger was equal to 5 oxen. This 10% of Li Fan's power was close to the strength of 3 tigers. This was also because Lu Xiaohu's bones were clear, so Li Fan dared to try to inject 10% of true qi into him. Lu Xiaohu's veins bulged all over his body, and he felt that he would explode and die at any time. "Master, it's so uncomfortable. Bear with it, it will be over soon." As Li Fan spoke, his true qi had already filled Lu Xiaohu's meridians. Li Fan smoothly opened up Lu Xiaohu's conception and governing vessels. After all, they were all his disciples, so it was just a small effort. Li Fan let go of his hand, and Lu Xiaohu knelt on the ground with both hands on the floor. He looked like he was in pain. Lu Xiaohu had never felt so uncomfortable before. His blood vessels were extremely swollen, almost tearing Lu Xiaohu's body apart. Li Fan also had this feeling before, especially when he received true qi from Murong-ing for the first time. He was so sad that he almost died. Fortunately, he had a pure yang body, so he quickly digested it. Lu Xiaohu was also fine. After lying down for a while, he slowly digested the true qi in his body and felt much more comfortable. "Little tiger, although I'm your master, I can't always come over to teach you, nor can I bring you with me. This is my fault." Li Fan felt a little regretful. "However, I will teach you everything I should. You don't have to learn all of the 7-hero fists. You just have to master one." Li Fan assumed the posture of the tiger fist. His body suddenly shook, and then he entered a domineering state. Lu Xiaohu looked at his master with some admiration. Black Tiger Emperor. This was one of the essentials of Shifu's 7 Heroes fist. "Pay attention to my condition. Whether or not you can comprehend the Black Tiger Emperor will depend on your own comprehension." Li Fan said, "Only by comprehending the Black Tiger Emperor can you comprehend the later, beating the tiger." "Yes, master." Lu Xiaohu respectfully knelt there, meticulously observing Li Fan. The Black Tiger Emperor was a very advanced and powerful state. To learn it, it required a certain amount of time and comprehension. Li Fan maintained the state of the Black Tiger Emperor for a while, then slowly dispersed. "How much did you learn?" Li Fan asked. "Just a little." Lu Xiaohu was a little ashamed. "How much is a little?" Li Fan asked. Lu Xiaohu stood up, took a few steps back, and then his eyes sharpened. A wave of aura immediately spread out, and Li Fan's body trembled. Fuck. Although it was not the aura of an emperor like Li Fan, it was full of a domineering aura, a little domineering aura that people did not dare to look directly at. This kid just looked at it for a while, and he already comprehended so much? Li Fan couldn't help but take a closer look at Lu Xiaohu. This kid was indeed a promising talent. "Master, how is it?" Unfortunately, it only lasted for 3 seconds. Lu Xiaohu only maintained it for 3 seconds before the state of the Black Tiger Emperor dissipated. "It's not bad, but you have to work harder." Li Fan did not want to praise Lu Xiaohu too much, lest he became arrogant. "Got it, master." Lu Xiaohu nodded. "I will definitely work hard." "Okay, good luck." Li Fan did not say much. The rest was up to Lu Xiaohu to comprehend by himself. He gave Lu Xiaohu some pointers on his external techniques, and it was getting late. "You have to practice more. When it comes to martial arts, the fist never leaves the hand, and the song never leaves the mouth. If you slack off one day, you will fall behind. Before leaving, Li Fan reminded Lu Xiaohu. Got it, master. Take care. Lu Xiaohu respectfully sent Li Fan off. On the way back, Li Fan was still a little preoccupied. Now, there were too many enemies on all sides. With so many of them popping up all at once, Li Fan did not know who to deal with. Moreover, most people knew about his relationship with the Special Abilities Bureau. In order to get the profit, they would definitely go to the Special Abilities Bureau. And for the sake of the Special Abilities Bureau, they would definitely find him first. Li Fan glanced at the city that was slowly falling asleep, and he was thinking about a problem. Would it be better for him to hide himself like the Special Abilities Bureau did? Li Fan thought about it and gave up on this idea. This was something only a coward would do. As a martial artist, he should be able to hold the pass alone against 10,000 enemies. Li Fan returned home and suddenly felt relieved when he arrived at this small Western-style building. Was it because Murong-ing lived here too? You're back? To Li Fan's surprise, Murong-ing was still sitting on the sofa in the living room, holding an English classic in her hand. Still awake. Waiting for you to come back. Murong-ing slowly closed the book in her hand and looked at Li Fan seriously, saying, Li Fan, it's my father's birthday next month. Ah, you're going to Murong Villa again. Li Fan frowned slightly. Unwilling? You've seen it these few times. Li Fan smiled bitterly. I really can't get along with Patriarch Murong. Moreover, it's not just about Murongbo. The entire Murong Villa doesn't like me very much. I can understand you. Murong-ing said frankly, not long ago, Murong Villa also didn't like me. But he's the world's #1 expert, and his birthday party is world famous. You and I must go back. All right, I won't make things difficult for you. I'll go back. Li Fan agreed, which made Murong-ing look at Li Fan a few more times. Why are you looking at me like that? If it was in the past, you'd definitely quarrel with me. We've known each other for more than a year, and I've grown up a lot. Li Fan smiled. I'm the chief escort of Fifan Escort Agency. I can't still act like a child, right? You've indeed matured a lot. Today's clothes are not bad. Murong-ing praised sincerely. You waited for me until so late just to tell me this? It'll be the same tomorrow morning. Li Fan blinked his eyes. Could it be that you miss me? Who would miss you? Murong-ing's cheeks blushed, which was very beautiful. Chapter 671. Murong-ing is also shy, although the number of times she is shy is very rare, but this shows how precious it is. We are an old couple, what is there to be shy about? Who is shy? Murong-ing glares at Li Fan. I think you are seeing things. It is time to see a doctor. Wife, do you know you are the cutest at this time? What nonsense. Murong-ing turns around as if she does not want to see Li Fan. I have said what I want to say. You go back to sleep. Wifey, look, I'm back safe and sound. Shouldn't we make a child? Li Fan asks with a smile. Sure. Murong-ing does not look back, she just stretches out her hand, the sword hanging on the wall immediately flies down and falls into her hand. You have to ask the sword in my hand first. Fuck, you are looking down on me. Li Fan looks at the hero's sword hanging on the other wall, thinks for a moment, and finally gives up. Using the hero's sword to hit his wife is a bit exaggerated. You are really a person. A few days ago we agreed. Why did you change your mind today? Because you are not pleasing to the eye these few days. Murong-ing turns around again, her expression has returned to normal. She raises her sword and points it at Li Fan. Since you have inherited the hero's sword, why don't we have a few sword moves, how about it? Looking at Murong-ing's expression, it is clear that she is serious. Fuck, are you really going to do it? Li Fan looks at Murong-ing with some surprise. Of course, I want to test your sword skills. Murong-ing says, she stretches out her hand, the hero's sword hanging on the wall has already left its sheath, and with a dang sound, it stabs in front of Li Fan's feet. I do not use the hero's sword. Li Fan waved his hand, and the hero's sword left the ground and flew back into its scabbard. He pulled out the black sword that could transform from his waist. With a flick of his wrist, the blade elongated into a normal-sized sword. Why not use the hero's sword? Murong-ing raised her eyebrows. Hero's sword? I'm not a hero yet. I don't deserve the name of this sword. Li Fan held his black sword and explained seriously, besides, the sword in my hand is more convenient. I even gave it a name, Extraordinary. That suits your style. Murong-ing raised her sword again. The level of swordsmanship isn't determined by the sword, but by the person. Li Fan, let me see how your swordsmanship is now. With that, Murong-ing stepped on the wind and appeared in front of Li Fan in an instant. A sword was thrust directly at Li Fan's throat. Murong-ing's swordsmanship was exquisite and could be called the best in the world. Without hesitation, Li Fan raised his black sword and blocked in front of him. Clang! The tip of Murong-ing's sword hit Li Fan's sword. The two swords separated upon contact, creating sparks. Murong-ing brandished her sword. Her swordsmanship was very clean, but it didn't lose its elegance. Like floating clouds and flowing water, she attacked Li Fan in succession. However, Li Fan was no longer a greenhorn. Although his internal energy was only at the level of 5 dragons, each of his moves had the demeanor of a master. Li Fan used the charming and gentle swordsmanship to easily deflect Murong-ing's sword, making Murong-ing's attack unable to get close to Li Fan. However, Murong-ing was a swordsmanship expert. She suddenly saw an opening in Li Fan's defense and raised her sword. Clang! Li Fan's sword flew out of his hand and slashed at the wall beside him. Meanwhile, Murong-ing's sword was already stabbing at Li Fan's left eye. Li Fan didn't panic. He stretched out 2 fingers, gathered his true chi, and flicked Murong-ing's sword. At the same time that Murong-ing's sword was deflected, he stretched out his left hand and used the dragon toad's absorption of water to pull the sword back. He grabbed it in his hand and thrust it at Murong-ing's throat. Murong-ing also stretched out 2 fingers and deflected Li Fan's sword. Both of them took a step back and adjusted their positions. Then they got closer to each other again. Their swords left afterimages and collided several times in the air. Sparks flew everywhere. Their swordsmanship became faster and faster. The two of them used their powers at the acme of perfection at the same time, just to display a sword technique. Clang! Their swords collided again and both of them retreated. Murong-ing lowered her sword and looked at Li Fan. She said slowly, "Your swordsmanship has indeed improved, but it's messy and doesn't have your own style." Li Fan didn't refute her. After all, most of his swordsmanship was modified from Murong's swordsmanship and Mount Hua swordsmanship. It lacked his own style. Even the charming sword technique was modified by him, so it couldn't be said to be his own swordsmanship. Li Fan was good at fighting with nothing. His skills with weapons were indeed a little weak. I heard that you have a swordsmanship called God Slaying. It seems very powerful. Why don't you show it to me? Murong-ing looked at Li Fan curiously. Forget it, Li Fan shook his head. The God-slaying swordsmanship is too domineering. I can't control my strength well. If something happens to you, I'll be the one who will feel sorry. Am I that weak? Let's talk about it when there's a chance. Li Fan didn't want to show this move to Murong-ing. If something really happened to her, he would be the one who would feel sorry. I'm not like those opponents you've met. Murong-ing emphasized. Don't be afraid. Come on. Damn, I'm like a young lady on her first night of marriage. Li Fan kept his black sword and clapped his hands. I'm done. I'm tired. I still have to go to school tomorrow. I'm going to sleep. Are you going to participate in the school's expansion program? Murong-ing suddenly asked. Of course. Everyone is going. If I don't go, wouldn't it look too pretentious? Li Fan was a handsome man who liked to keep a low profile. Oh, all right. Go to bed early. Murong-ing seemed a little disappointed. Li Fan didn't come home often in a month. Sometimes, Murong-ing suddenly wondered if it was a good thing for her to bring Li Fan on this martial arts path. In the past, he was like a child who was protected by her. But now, he was getting farther and farther away from her. Li Fan didn't know Murong-ing's thoughts. He was indeed a little sleepy. Returning to his room, he lay down on the bed and prepared to sleep. But just as Li Fan was about to sleep, he vaguely felt something was wrong. He reached out and pulled Tai Zhu out from under the bed. What the hell are you doing here? I'm afraid son-in-law will have nightmares. Accompanying you to sleep. Accompanying your sister. Li Fan lifted his foot and kicked Taiju out. Taiju rubbed his butt and stood at the door, watching Murong-ing coming up. Miss, son-in-law's martial arts are getting better and better. I'm no longer his opponent. Taiju, do you really like Li Fan that much? Murong-ing suddenly asked. Chapter 672. As soon as Murong-ing asked, Taiju immediately blushed. Big miss? I don't know how to answer you. Taiju's breathing was a bit messed up. A 2-meter tall fierce man. No, fierce woman, was holding his bald head, bashfully. But Murong-ing didn't look angry at all. She and Taiju almost grew up together. Since childhood, Taiju had this kind of character. She had the heart of a young girl. It's just that her physique was a bit taller than an ordinary girl. You say it, I won't blame you. Murong-ing encouraged Taiju. That son-in-law is indeed very good. Taiju lowered his head and rubbed the corner of his clothes. He is very enterprising, very motivated, and gives people a sense of security. Taiju said his opinion of Li Fan. If son-in-law can take a fancy to me, it's really a blessing that I've cultivated for several lifetimes. Murong-ing pulled Taiju's hand and said softly, Don't worry, Taiju, you and I are like sisters. If I really marry over, I will definitely let you be my dowry. Big miss. You're really good? But will son-in-law be willing? Don't worry, I have the final say on this matter. Big miss. Taiju suddenly thought of something and looked at Murong-ing in horror. What's wrong? Big miss? Don't you remember? What did you just say? What did I say? Big miss just said, You want to marry over. Murong-ing suddenly understood, and her face turned slightly pale. She actually dared to say such words? Maybe I'm a bit sleepy. Forget it, let's not think about this problem. Speaking of which, big miss? Taiju suddenly asked, This time, I'm afraid it's time to fulfill the 1-year agreement. Murong-ing nodded, her beautiful eyes hiding a trace of depth. Everyone in the family is waiting for this duel. I heard that young Master Jiang has received special training from Master and his strength has increased by a lot. Especially since he knows how to become one with the demons. I'm afraid he'll become a formidable opponent for the young Master. I'm not worried about that. Murong-ing said calmly, Li Fan is now the head of an escort agency, and he's also an expert in the alien bone transformation technique. Among the 3 great martial arts talents, materialization is the best, followed by unity of heart and demon. But Master is the #1 expert in the world after all. The disciple that he personally taught can't be bad. More than a year ago, he lost to Li Fan once. Murong-ing laughed. In a year or so, he will lose again. Look, eldest miss, aren't you quite appreciative of the son-in-law? Taiju laughed. Murong-ing seemed to blush a little again. She immediately turned around and walked back to her room. It's getting late. Go to sleep. Yes, eldest Mississippi. Taiju didn't say much and respectfully sent Murong-ing back to her room. While Li Fan was sleeping, inside the Special Abilities Bureau, Archangel was thrown into the prison. This prison is made of special materials that can eliminate the spiritual force of mutants. He lay on the cold ground, gnashing his teeth and seeming to be very angry. There was only dim light around him, and without his spiritual force, he couldn't see clearly in the darkness. After the guard threw him into the prison, he turned around and left the room. At that moment, the prison seemed to have become even darker. Archangel turned his head and saw an acquaintance sitting next to him, staring at him with a smile. Poseidon, why are you here? Archangel sat up and looked at his companion who had disappeared for many years. Didn't you run away long ago? Why are you here? How long have you been captured by them? Don't be nervous, Fred. Poseidon called out Archangel's name as soon as he opened his mouth. We haven't seen each other for so many years. Why do you still like to cry? Poseidon, you shameless guy. Archangel sneered. When the Creator was trapped, you were the first to run away. For me to be able to meet you here today, it's simply the blessing of the Creator. Your lifespan is up, Poseidon. First of all, I want to thank you for your loyalty to the Creator. Poseidon nodded at Archangel. You are a good and loyal slave. But do you think you can defeat me here? Unlike Archangel, Archangel's body was slightly thin and weak. Poseidon's body, on the other hand, was very strong. If they really fought, Archangel would probably be put down by Poseidon in a few moves. For the Creator, I can sacrifice everything, even my life. Archangel sneered. Anyway, I won't live long here. Let me save my last bit of value for killing a traitor like you. Archangel Fred. Poseidon smiled. I'm sure the Creator will be touched by your words. I don't need you to tell me that. Fred bumped into Poseidon, but Poseidon reached out a hand and grabbed Fred's forehead. Poseidon only used one hand, but he used some kind of magic to forcibly hold Fred's body in place. Fred could not move and could only look in horror at this coward who liked to run away. Praise you. As Poseidon spoke, Fred's spiritual power was suddenly sucked away by Poseidon. Fred screamed. He looked at Poseidon in pain, his eyes slowly changing from horror to surprise. It's you. Fred lost all his spiritual power and was thrown to the ground by Poseidon. He lay there with a strange smile on his face. Fred was still alive, but he was no different from a dead man. Have a good sleep. Poseidon took a deep breath as if he was enjoying his current state. I will take your share and complete our great cause. Poseidon looked at the glass in front of him and smiled. The guard walked in and was shocked to see the Archangel lying on the ground with saliva dripping from the corner of his mouth. He was about to open the cell door and walk in when a hand pressed down on his shoulder. Don't go in. Bai Lin Luo stood behind the guard and pressed down on his shoulder to remind him. Bai Lin Luo, Director Bai. Poseidon stood in the cell, no longer looking timid. Instead, he put his hands behind his back and looked like a king who had descended. He looked at Bai Lin Luo opposite him. A prophet's superpower is very useful, isn't it? There was a bulletproof glass between them, but Poseidon's gaze made Bai Lin Luo feel very insecure. It was as if the glass did not exist and Poseidon was standing right in front of him. But it's a bit of a waste to leave this thing with you. Chapter 673. Bai Lin Luo immediately pressed a switch, and an electric current flowed through the glass. This is a special electromagnetic wave. Bai Lin Luo said, it's specialized in suppressing spiritual power. I like to double my insurance before I do anything. Director Bai, you are indeed quite smart. You are a good opponent. Poseidon clapped his hands as if he was praising him. The prophet's ability is not bad, but do you know where his ability came from? Bai Lin Luo looked at Poseidon cautiously. He did not know what he wanted to say or do. His ability is the same as mine. We both came from Demon Island. Poseidon told Bai Lin Luo a shocking fact. Our group landed on Demon Island. At that time, the expedition teams from several countries went up together, but very few people survived. He and I were the survivors. The other one was Mr. Yang. After the three of us left Demon Island, we returned to the human world. However, the three of us seemed to be like pathogens. Some of the people who got close to us began to mutate. They obtained superpowers and became the second batch of mutants. Bai Lin Luo was a little surprised. This information was too shocking. The second batch of mutants also began to have a variety of superpowers. The ones who were most affected by me were 4 people. They each had some of the most primitive powers of humans. Wind, lightning, fire, and frost. They chose to submit to me and be used by me. At the same time, more people were influenced by them and became the third batch of mutants. Bai Lin Luo thought for a moment. The reason why he suddenly became a mutant was probably because other mutants influenced and radiated him. All these years, we have always wanted to return to our original place, Demon Island, Poseidon said. Poseidon said, there might be a secret that could make us stronger. Unfortunately, we all failed. No, Bai Lin Luo frowned. Li Fan told me about Mr. Yang. Didn't you guys attack him when he was young and kill his parents? Whatever Mr. Yang wanted Li Fan to see, Li Fan could only see. Poseidon smiled. Back then, he and his parents followed our expedition to Demon Island. However, his parents didn't survive. I was the one who raised him. Bai Lin Luo could not believe it. This was beyond his imagination. What the hell? This is unbelievable. Bai Lin Luo had always been conservative. He had never thought of this possibility. You should have guessed that I am not Poseidon. I am the god of the Gold Empire, the creator. Poseidon opened his arms and raised his voice by an octave. Me, the prophet, and Mr. Yang, the three of us have strong psychic powers. So, even if our bodies perish, our minds will remain. You mean, before you were trapped, you let your mind escape into Poseidon's body, right? Bai Lin Luo explained his analysis. That's right. You are very smart. Poseidon nodded. Although the three of us have similar powers, we have different ideologies. I believe that our powers can change the world. We can even become true gods. After all, our powers are different. What about the prophet? The prophet, that hypocritical guy. He actually thought that he could become the savior and use his powers to save the world. And Mr. Yang's idea is to destroy you infected people who are poisoning the earth, right? That's right. They are both too stupid. People like us are destined to be different. We have such great powers. Why don't we use them? Your thinking is too extreme. Bai Lin Luo said coldly. This power should be used to protect humans. Hee, it seems that you are also affected by the prophet's ability. Poseidon looked at Bai Lin Luo. The power of the three of us is so strong. What nonsense are you talking about? Bai Lin Luo suddenly thought of something and frowned. Not bad. It seems that you have thought of it too. Poseidon smiled. Li Fan is the person who has the most contact with Mr. Yang. Li Fan's mind power is very strong. Bai Lin Luo said immediately. A mere mutant won't be able to affect him. Whatever you say, as long as you are happy. Poseidon smiled. However, I am no longer in the mood to play with you. Time is up. Poseidon said as he took a few steps back. His body disappeared from Bai Lin Luo's sight in the blink of an eye. Oh no, Bai Lin Luo frowned. He did not expect that even after activating the mind suppressor, he still could not imprison Poseidon. It was not Poseidon, but the creator. Had he really been affected by the prophet? Bai Lin Luo's frown could not be unfurled. There were too many things that worried him. Should he tell Li Fan about this? Bai Lin Luo thought for a while and decided not to tell Li Fan. Telling Li Fan would only cause him more trouble. These things should be solved by himself. Where did Poseidon go? It seemed that he could only ask the prophet. Yes, as long as the prophet was in his hands, there was nothing to fear. Everything was under his control. Bai Lin Luo suddenly took 2 steps forward and suddenly thought of something. The mutant he met on that island. Could it be Poseidon's body? Now that he thought about it, it seemed to be the case. God. If that was the case, it was too scary. Just his body alone had the power to change the world. Now that this guy's real body had appeared, it would bring about another disaster. Prophet, tell me the solution. Bai Lin Luo walked towards the prophet's room. Li Fan did not know any of this. He was busy dealing with the extracurricular activities arranged by the school. Participating in this activity with them was City A's most famous experimental number 1 high school. Although private number 2 high school was famous, it was still a private school. The difference between China and other countries was that overseas private schools were the best, while China's national schools were the best. Experimental number 1 high school was a key university in the province. Every year, it sent many talents to various universities. Many parents whipped their children so that they could get into the experimental number 1 high school. As long as they got into the experimental number 1 high school, they would be connected to a prestigious university. At that moment, the representative students from both schools had left their schools and were in the expansion center that was jointly built by several schools in City A. Chapter 674. The expansion center wasn't small. Li Fan felt that it was even bigger than private number 2 high school. The expansion center was built on a mountain. The environment around it was very good, and there were learning and entertainment facilities everywhere. Liao Wushuang led Li Fan and the others in. They were a little excited that they would be staying here for 3 days and 2 nights. The cool autumn wind blew on them, making the students even happier. They felt like they were on a vacation. But soon, they couldn't be excited anymore. Because the students of Experimental Number 1 High School were standing below the dormitory building. They turned around and saw the students of Private Number 2 High School. Oh, these are the students of Private Number 2 High School. Don't talk to them. They're all backward students. We actually have to stay with these people for 3 days and 2 nights. What a shame. These people looked at Li Fan and the others from the corner of their eyes, but when their eyes fell on Liao Wushuang, Lin Yin and Murong, all of them were stunned. Private Number 2 High School. Why are there so many beauties? Oh my God. Do they have boyfriends? I'm so outstanding, they'll definitely like me. The boys of Experimental Number 1 High School all stared at the beauties standing beside Li Fan, but none of the girls looked at them. Teacher Liao, welcome. The leader of Experimental Number 1 High School was a male teacher in his 30s. When he saw Liao Wushuang, he swallowed his saliva. Obviously, he had some thoughts about her. Hello, Teacher Wang. Liao Wushuang stepped forward and shook hands with the male teacher. The male teacher seemed reluctant to let go, but under everyone's gaze, he reluctantly let go. Teacher Liao, we'll be living together for the next few days. Everyone should take care of each other. That's for sure. If there's anything, let's communicate. Liao Wushuang exchanged a few polite words with the male teacher before leading the students to the dormitory building. The standard of the dormitory building wasn't low. Every room was a 4-star standard with double beds. Everyone was assigned a room, 2 to a room. Li Fan shared a room with Lu Zhu. After all, other than him and Bai Lin Luo, no other male student dared to share a room with Li Fan. When they arrived, they would first go to their rooms to tidy up. Gather at the hall in an hour for the first group activity. Li Fan glanced at his phone. It was a WeChat message from the class monitor. He walked to the bed and saw that both his and Lu Zhu's beds had a new set of black and white sportswear with the logo of Number 2 Private High School printed on it. This was the uniform they would be wearing for the next few days. Li Fan casually took off his school uniform and began to change into this set of sportswear. What are you doing? After Li Fan took off his clothes, Lu Zhu suddenly exclaimed. She looked at Li Fan as if he was a pervert. Change your clothes. Why don't you change in the bathroom? Fuck, why are there so many things? As Li Fan spoke, he took off his underwear. After wearing it for a day, it was damp. He changed into a clean and comfortable one. Let's take a bath first. It will be more comfortable. Li Fan stretched his body naked. Lu Zhu was completely dumbfounded. She stared blankly at Li Fan standing there. The sun shone on Li Fan's body, reflecting his skin with a bronze color. Li Fan stretched his muscles and bones, and then moved his body a little. His muscles were stretched out in a beautiful arc, and Lu Zhu fell into a daze as she watched. I'm going to take a bath first. Do you want to join me? Li Fan turned his head and asked Lu Zhu. Lu Zhu's head almost flew off. Okay, then I'll go in first. As Li Fan walked into the bathroom, Lu Zhu felt her face was hot. He patted his cheeks and then quickly changed into the black and white sportswear with the logo. When Li Fan came out, he saw Lu Zhu had changed into new clothes and couldn't help but ask. Hey, don't you want to take a bath? No, it's none of your business. Lu Zhu angrily said, Moreover, can I wear clothes? I just took a bath. Li Fan said, Why do you have so many problems? Are you a woman? Lu Zhu suddenly became nervous. I'm just teasing you. I'm not talking about your mother. Don't be angry. Li Fan said, changed into a new pair of underwear, and then put on the sportswear. The material of this sportswear seems to be good. This time the school is really willing to spend money. Looking at his sportswear, Li Fan couldn't help but praise it. It's okay. Only you would like this kind of vulgar material. Lu Zhu ridiculed Li Fan. Isn't this good? You're talking as if you were born in a rich family. Hearing Li Fan's words, Lu Zhu suddenly went silent. I was not born in a rich family. When I was born, my parents were already dead. Li Fan was stunned for a moment, for he didn't expect Lu Zhu's life to be so miserable. However, Li Wei took me in and brought me up. So, sect leader is my only relative. Even if others can betray solipsism, I can't. I see. After hearing her words, Li Fan was a little depressed. The reason for that was because he had always wanted to bring Lu Zhu out of solipsism. But now, it was clear that it would be very difficult for him to bring Lu Zhu out. If possible, I really wish I was the one who met you back then. Li Fan couldn't help but sigh. We are about the same age. When you met me, you were still a child. Could you have adopted me? Maybe. I really want a younger brother. Li Fan smiled and said, when I was a child, I told my mother that I wanted a younger brother or older brother. I was still very cute back then. However, my family conditions were not very good, and it was a problem to raise me. If I had met him earlier, there should have been something different. Lu Zhu smiled faintly, but Li Fan couldn't tell what he was thinking. However, everything can't be changed now. Lu Zhu continued, in the end, I still joined solipsism and became your enemy. No matter what happens, I will always open the door for you. Li Fan patted Lu Zhu's arm and said, as long as you want to repent. Who wants to repent? I don't think what I did was wrong. Lu Zhu, on the other hand, looked at Li Fan seriously. This world needs to change. Li Fan, don't you think that the whole world is getting dirtier? What do you mean? Dirty? This world is full of deceit and deception. Lu Zhu said, some people can betray their friends and family for the sake of some benefits. Besides, there are more and more such people. The prestigious sects in the pugilistic world are full of people who are angling for fame and benefits. Chapter 675. Lu Zhu looked straight at Li Fan and said frankly, I entered the Jianghu when I was 5 years old. I've seen too many things in the Jianghu. Li Fan, you're still too young and trust some people too much. If you guarded against them, you wouldn't have drunk the poisoned wine in the Night Rain building and become so embarrassed, right? Just like me, guard against everyone, no one is worthy of your trust. What about me? Li Fan's question made Lu Zhu stunned. Then I'm not worthy of your trust? Lu Zhu stammered, but Li Fan couldn't help but smile. Although I entered the Jianghu, I've always been in a silly state and trust everyone. But for me, I like to make friends with sincerity. Perhaps some people don't really want to make friends with me, but it doesn't matter. Among 100 people, if I can make friends with one, it's my harvest. Li Fan looked at Lu Zhu and said, for example, I think I should make friends with you, what do you think? Humph, in short. You should be more careful. Lu Zhu angrily turned his head away, as if rendered speechless by Li Fan, unable to refute him. Okay, if I didn't know you for a long time, I would have thought you're a woman. Li Fan smiled, feeling that Lu Zhu sometimes has a little girl's temper. You're the one who's like a woman, always nagging. Lu Zhu fiercely glared at Li Fan. I really don't know that so many women are blind, how could they like you? Wait until you like me, then you'll understand. To hell with it, I won't like you. In your next life, how about you be reincarnated as a woman and I marry you? No, it's nothing. Lu Zhu suddenly panicked. Why are you panicking? You don't want to be a woman. Humph, it's none of your business. Lu Zhu turned her back and didn't seem to want to talk to Li Fan. Actually, you really need someone by your side to love and pamper you. Li Fan suddenly sighed with emotion, causing Lu Zhu's body to tremble slightly. Lu Zhu, don't worry. No matter what happens to you in the future, I will protect you. Li Fan gently placed his hands on Lu Zhu's shoulders. At that time, we kowtow to each other. Even if one day, you are despised by the world, and everyone has the right to punish you, I will also do my best to protect you. Why are you doing this? Because I believe that no matter what you do, you won't harm me, right? Li Fan said sincerely, I really treat you as a brother. Unexpectedly, Lu Zhu was angry again. This made Li Fan a little confused. What was going on? Why was he angry all of a sudden? Ignore me, I want to sleep for a while. You have to go downstairs later. At that time, I will wake up by myself. Lu Zhu showed her unhappiness. Li Fan had no choice but to let go of Lu Zhu. He stood in the middle of the room and squatted in a horse stance with both hands in front of him, maintaining a palm-pushing posture. For a martial artist, the fist does not leave the hand, and the song does not leave the mouth. If he doesn't practice for a day, he will become rusty. Right now, Li Fan was maintaining his best posture. Although it was difficult for his martial arts to improve, at least he could not regress. On this point, Li Fan admired Guan Wenbao the most. He was too serious in his training. No one could compare to him. In a second, Li Fan could enter the state of training. In a blink of an eye, 5 white smoke came out of his head and rushed to the ceiling, forming a large cloud. Lu Zhu opened her eyes and looked at the 5 white smoke above Li Fan's head. Her heart was filled with envy. 5 flowers bloom. Alien bone exchange. For Li Fan to have 2 great abilities, it was really enviable. Lu Zhu knew that she was also talented. Single flower at the crown. For ordinary people, this was an extremely enviable talent. But compared to Li Fan, it was like a farmer meeting a big landlord. Comparisons were odious, and goods had to be thrown away. Lu Zhu angrily thought. But this guy, how could he be so at ease to enter the deep state of training? Wasn't he afraid that I would make a move on him? This guy, how could he be so at ease with others? Really annoying. Did he think that I wouldn't dare to make a move on him? Lu Zhu circulated her power and raised her right hand. Her palm condensed true qi. Li Fan, don't blame me for this. Lu Zhu walked towards Li Fan and raised her palm, preparing to crush Li Fan's skull. Lu Zhu swayed for a long time and finally put down her palm. Today's weather is good. It's not suitable to kill. I'll spare your life. Lu Zhu happily went to take a bath. In fact, Li Fan was not aware of the outside world. He was very at ease with Lu Zhu. At this time, Li Fan entered the deep state of his consciousness. It was the quiet surface of the water again, surrounded by 7 huge beasts. But Li Fan's current fist technique had already surpassed the 7 beasts. This was the bottleneck of his cultivation. In terms of external cultivation, he had already reached the limit. But in terms of internal cultivation, he was still lacking too much. At the place where the sea and the sky met, 9 stars appeared in the sky. 6 of them were very bright like bright lamps, and 3 of them were dimmer. These were the 3 acupoints that Li Fan had yet to open. This bright and quiet area, but behind Li Fan, there was a different world. In that world, the sky was densely covered with nebulae and darkness. There was also a huge whirlpool on the surface of the water, as if it could swallow everything. This world belonged to the 7 heroes, and the starry sky belonged to the Star Luo Supreme Art. In Li Fan's world, there was a clear distinction between black and white. He glanced at the 7th star above his head, as if he was holding back his energy. Should I try to open the 7th acupoint? Thinking of this, Li Fan's 7 beasts all raised their heads and simultaneously opened their mouths at the 7th star. Bang! 7 different colored energy blasted out from the 7 beasts' mouths, shooting straight into the sky. With a rumble, the 7 energy blasts landed on the 7th star. The star kept shaking, receiving the impact. But the 7th star was very tenacious. No matter how the 7 energy blasts attacked, it still remained unmoved. Too sturdy. Li Fan frowned. Could it be that my cultivation has stopped at this level? Li Fan, wake up. Just as Li Fan was about to try again, a familiar voice rang in his ear. Li Fan suddenly woke up, left his visualization world, and returned to reality. He opened his eyes and saw Lu Zhu standing in front of him, using her demonic voice to talk to him. Time's up, big idiot. Lu Zhu glared at Li Fan, then opened the door and went downstairs. Chapter 676. This activity seems to be carried out together with the students from the number 1 experimental high school. When Li Fan went down, he saw the students from the 2 schools waiting for him. The students from the number 1 experimental high school have changed into blue uniforms, except for a beautiful girl who wore a red uniform. Lin Yuten, long time no see. You still haven't dropped out of school. That girl crossed her arms and looked at Lin Yuten with a mocking look. It's all thanks to you. Lin Yuzhen looked at the girl in the red uniform and softly said, "Bai Jie, long time no see. You're still the same." "Wait a minute." Li Fan pulled Lin Yuzhen. "What did you say her name was?" "Bai Jie, white as in white, pure as in clean," Lin Yuichisayan seriously explained. Li Fan felt as if he was struck by lightning. "Celebrity?" Hello. Li Fan wanted to step forward and shake her hand, but Bai Jie disdainfully avoided him. "Lin Yuzhen, I'm afraid you're going to lose miserably on the first day of the competition." Bai Jie crossed her arms and ignored Li Fan. Then she proudly looked at Lin Yuzhen and the others. "However, this is your fate. Private number 2 high school is still a lot weaker than the number 1 experimental high school. You guys are too arrogant. That's right, why do you look down on us?" Although Bai Jie was quite beautiful, no one could accept what she said. Especially these students from number 2 high school, each and every one of them was so angry that they can't wait to push Bai Jie down and ruthlessly whip her. What a willful and arrogant woman. Lin Yuzhen curled her lips. Junior high school is always like this. High school is still the same. "Oh, Lin Yuzhen, I think you're just jealous." Bai Jie sneered and looked at Lin Yuzhen. "You didn't even pass the number 1 experimental high school, how can you compare with me? I think you might be mistaken about something." Lin Yuzhen smiled, then said to Bai Jie, "If I want to enter the experimental number 1 middle school, it's just a matter of time. However, number 2 private high school promised that students who studied here would be exempted from tuition and fees, and they would even provide a scholarship of 5,000 yuan per year." Bai Jie froze for a moment. Why didn't I know about this? "I don't believe it." Before Bai Jie could finish her words, the 2 teachers had already gone downstairs. Come. "Students, let's gather." The male teacher clapped his hands and said gently, "I'm very grateful to the Education Bureau for giving us this opportunity to gather in this beautiful place." Li Fan wanted to complain. "Damn, these words are so annoying." However, the male teacher seemed to like to say these kind of things. He went on and on, wishing he could pull out the names of all the leaders from the Education Bureau and praise them 100 times. "All right, let's go to the training ground first." It seemed that even Liao Wushuang was tired of listening to it. She clapped her hands and walked out with the students of the 2nd middle school. Then let's go. Let's do our best in today's competition." The male teacher smiled at his students. "Let them know how big the gap between them and our school is. Good. Let these people understand that trash will always be trash. In the next 3 days, we must beat them in all the matches." The students of number 1 experimental high school shouted. As the class leader, Bai Jie waved her hand, and the students behind her immediately shut their mouths. "I understand that you have emotions in your heart, and so do I. These trash actually want to train with us. They are simply shameless. On the first day of the competition, we must make them lose so that they can't lift their heads. The class leader is right. Let them leave here crying." "No. Those beautiful girls can't leave." "That's right, why don't we let those girls stay?" "Yes, let's study together. Let's progress together." The boys all chuckled, and their thoughts were self-evident. Bai Jie naturally knew the thoughts of these boys, but she didn't expose them. She wanted them to have more expectations so that they would work harder in the competition. A group of boys of number 1 experimental high school were crying piteously as if they were in heat. The male teacher led them outside and met up with the students of number 2 private high school. The first day of the competition is the team relay race. Liao Wushuang introduced. Each class will select 4 teams of 2 people. Team A will be responsible for carrying Team B to cross the obstacle, and Team B will be responsible for answering the questions. Once they reach the race point and finish answering the questions, the first team to arrive will get 8 points, the second team will get 7 points, and so on and so forth to see which school gets the most points. Liao Wushuang said and pointed. The staff of the development center had already prepared the competition venue. There were 4 sections of track, and each section had unique obstacles. Some sections had railings, while others had soft sand, all to increase the difficulty of the competition. "Okay, let's start selecting the contestants." The male teacher was confident, but Bai Jie sneered again and again with a proud face. Our class is the experimental class of number 1 experimental high school, the elite of the elite. Moreover, many of the students here are the city's elite athletes. It's really unlucky for them to meet our devil team. Don't mind her. Mental patients have a wide mind, and brainless children have a lot of fun. Ever since Bai Jie ignored Li Fan's handshake, Lin Yifan was even more unhappy with her. Not only Bai Jie, but almost all of the girls who belonged to the underworld were unhappy with Bai Jie. Come, let's select the contestants. Lin Yifan came over and assumed the position of the class monitor. She began selecting the contestants. I'll be in the team with Li Fan. Lu Zhu and Ling Yu will be in the team. Before the other two teams were announced, Murong Ai and Lu Zhu were already unwilling. Why are you in the team with brother-in-law? That's right, don't exclude me just because I'm a teacher. Liao Wushuang's words made the surrounding people roll their eyes, thinking, Teacher Liao should have some sense of honor. You're a teacher. The third team, Murong Ai and Xia Yan. The fourth team, Jin Jioma and Cheng Mohan. Lin Yuhsen's allocation was the most reasonable. Every team would have one student who was good at studying. This way, it could ensure that no one would be affected because they couldn't answer the questions. I want to apply for a substitution. Cheng Mohan actually raised her hand. I want to be in the team with Li Fan. Lin Yuhsen was speechless. This woman, where did she come from? How could she have the right to speak among these people? I also want to be in the team with Li Fan. Ling Yu knew her mission. At this moment, it was the best time to get closer to Li Fan. I'll reluctantly be in the team with him. Jin Jioma curled his lips, and when he said this, he seemed a little unhappy. Me too. I want to be in the team with junior brother. Xia Yan refused to be outdone. I can also participate. Liao Wushuang was also a little eager. Chapter 677. Lin Yuhsen had a headache. Why are these women acting like lunatics? The most infuriating thing is that Murong's love has already climbed onto Li Fan's back. This is too outrageous. Listen to my command. Lin Yifan flipped out. I'm the class monitor. Everyone must listen to my arrangements. Otherwise, Li Fan will not have to go on stage. All right, in order to be on the same stage as brother-in-law, I'll agree to it for now. Looking at Murong's love look, she seems to be feeling wronged. Lin Yuhsen felt helpless. This group of women, each of them can't wait to stick to Li Fan's crotch. Where's the modesty of a girl? Fine, so be it. As long as we can win. Ling Yu immediately expressed. With me around, you won't be the champion. Jin Hisao crossed his arms and turned to look at Cheng Mohan. Don't drag me down. Cheng Mohan's temper seems to be very good. Hearing this, she did not get angry. Instead, she smiled and nodded. All right, I will do my best. Not bad. Jin Hisao nodded in satisfaction, as if victory is in his grasp. We won't lose either, okay? Xia Ya's competitiveness is very strong, especially here. She always feels that she has no position. In order to leave a place for her in Li Fan's heart, she must let him see that she is also very powerful. If she can't even win against a few women, how can she be Li Fan's senior sister? She must make Li Fan realize her value. Li Fan is also very speechless. These women are obviously opponents with the others. Why are they fighting first? Isn't this a joke to the outsiders? Sure enough, the people from experimental number 1 middle school are watching happily, especially Bai Jie, who crossed her arms and is very proud of herself. Dogs biting each other, their mouths are full of fur. Lin Yifan can't be bothered with her. This woman is sick in the mind. Since she was young, she had always been at odds with him and wanted to surpass him in everything. He didn't even provoke her, so why did she have so many problems? Although Bai Jie was watching the fun, there were still a lot of boys from experimental number 1 middle school who were envious of Li Fan. This brat is a big tool, okay? Why are there so many women surrounding him? She was actually fighting to cooperate with him. What the hell? He was going to make this man vomit blood and let these girls see what a real man was. The students from experimental number 1 middle school immediately formed their teams according to the order they had agreed on earlier. This was because there were many talented students in the class. They were all seeded players from the city or even the province. Such a small obstacle course was nothing to them. Killing Private Number 2 High School was a piece of cake. Almost instantly, Li Fan became the public enemy of all men. "Wang Chen, come here," Bai Jie shouted at a brawny man. That brawny man immediately walked over obediently and laid on the ground, waiting for Bai Jie to lie on his back. Wang Chen, the seeded athlete of the provincial track and field team. Lin Yun couldn't help but want to roll her eyes. "Bai Jie, you're still as shameless as before." "What's wrong?" "He recently transferred to our experimental number 1 middle school. This is the charm of our experimental number 1 middle school. How can you understand?" Bai Jie sneered at Lin Yun. "You guys should just obediently wait to lose." "Haha, the top 4 are all from our experimental number 1 middle school." Lin Yun didn't want to bother with Bai Jie. This woman, the more you bother with her, the more she would climb over you. At this time, Li Fan didn't say anything and just quietly carried Lin Yuhsin. This was nothing. What surprised Bai Jie was that Qing Mohan carried Jin Jiuma and Xia Yi carried Murong. Forget about the 2 teams of girls. When she saw Ling Yu carrying Lu Zhu, Bai Jie really wanted to curse. "What's going on? This team is too weird. It's fine if girls carry girls, but why do they have to let girls carry boys? This private number 2 middle school discriminates against girls too much." Looking at her own team, the ones in charge of the obstacle course were all track and field athletes. Each of them was strong, and they ran as fast as they could. It seemed like they had given up on this competition. Hee, that's right, the opponent is experimental number 1 middle school after all. Prepare to start. Liao Wushuang and the male teacher looked at each other and then gave the order. Start. The 8 teams immediately set off. The first 200 meters were hurdles, and each hurdle was 1 meter high. If it was a normal day, those sports students would directly jump over it. But now, they were all carrying a girl, so they could only bend down and quickly drill under the hurdles. Bai Jie was proud. Their speed was definitely fast enough, and they were very smooth in passing the hurdles, like moving clouds and flowing water. At this speed, the students from private number 2 middle school wouldn't be able to catch up, right? Bai Jie was feeling proud, but then her eyes almost popped out. She saw Li Fan carrying Lin Yun, not caring about the hurdles at all. He directly jumped more than 1 meter high and jumped over the hurdles. The other girls were not to be outdone. They followed Li Fan's footsteps and jumped over the hurdles one by one, chasing after the guy running in front. "They're catching up. Quick!" Lin Yun turned around and saw the 3 people following closely behind, so she immediately reminded Li Fan. "Got it." Li Fan nodded and began to speed up. Ling Yu and the others were not to be outdone, so they followed closely behind Li Fan. This 1 meter high hurdle was not worth mentioning to them at all. Even the track and field team was dumbfounded. What's going on? Are they still human? Who can jump 1 meter high with a heavy load? Isn't this nonsense? However, Li Fan and the others had no time to appease the students from experimental number 1 middle school. They were rushing to be the first and soon arrived at the first match point. There were 8 white boards in front of them, and each one had a math question on it. The difficulty of the math questions were at the level of mathematical Olympiad. To solve these questions, it would take some time and difficulty. Seeing Li Fan and the others stopped at the match point, Bai Jie was slightly relieved. These guys are too despicable. In order to win the competition, they must have taken some terrible stimulants. However, stimulants don't affect the brain. This level of mathematical Olympiad was enough to stop them. For ordinary people like them, it would take at least 1 or 2 hours to solve this kind of question. Okay, let's go. However, 2 minutes later, Lin Yun had finished writing her answer. The staff looked at it and waved his hand, letting them pass. Impossible! Bai Jie had just arrived and saw Lin Yun had already set off. She let out a scream. How can you answer so quickly? I've done all the mathematical Olympiad questions here at least 10 times. Lin Yun said casually, It's not worth mentioning, isn't it? Bai Jie was completely stunned. A deep sense of frustration appeared in her heart. Chapter 678. However, the sense of defeat did not make Bai Jie give up. Instead, it motivated her. She was the elite of experimental number 1 middle school. How could she lose to a group of ordinary people who only managed to get into number 2 middle school? She used the fastest time in her life to answer this math question, but it still took her 10 minutes. In 10 minutes, she finished answering the math question. Number 2 middle school's Murong Ai, Lu Zhu, and Cheng Mohan also finished answering their questions. The other students from number 1 middle school were already lagging behind. They could not keep up with the pace of these freaks. Most importantly, in these 10 minutes, Lin Yue did not leave. Instead, she was waiting for them. I don't want to win. It's too boring. Lin Yuthan shrugged her shoulders. When she saw Bai Jie's angry eyes, she pointed at Li Fan. It's this guy who said it. Her angry eyes fell on Li Fan, making Li Fan uncomfortable. Li Fan also rolled his eyes in his heart. This Lin Yuthan really knows how to frame people. I'm such a pure and healthy boy. How could I say such pretentious words? Surpass them. Bai Jie's self-esteem took a hit. She slapped Wang Chen's face. Wang Chen also let out a roar and rushed forward. In front of them was a sandy area. One step and they would sink into the sand, making it difficult to walk. Wang Chen's physical strength was already very good. He was quickly crossing the sandy area. However, he was an ordinary person after all. Every time he walked, he had to use a lot of energy. On the other hand, Li Fan's team did not have to suffer this. The 4 teams quickly crossed the sandy area. It felt as though their feet were not touching the ground. Bai Jie was shocked. Could it be that these people knew how to do light work? While she was shocked, Li Fan's feet suddenly sank into the sand. He felt as though the surrounding sand was biting his feet, making it difficult for him to pull his feet out. Li Fan frowned and turned around to take a look. Cheng Mohan was smiling at him. Jean Kumo carried Cheng Mohan on her back. She directly crouched on the ground and used her hands and feet to quickly run on the sand. Beast Immortal Jean Hisao. This was her strength. Currently, Tatsumi Hisashi was imitating a wolf's posture. He was probably a desert wolf. She ran on the sand as if it was flat ground. She was very relaxed. When Jean Hisao ran past Bai Jie with Cheng Mohan on his back, Bai Jie was stunned. Is this still a human? How could a woman be so wild like a wolf? What kind of people are those from the 2nd private high school? Bai Jie's eyes widened, but she didn't want to admit defeat, so she urged Wang Chen to speed up. However, Ling Yu didn't want to let Tsutomu Hisashi go just like that. Ling Yu was a disciple of Amei sect, and she learned Amei sect's Qigong. However, because he could not display his true strength in front of everyone, he could only suppress himself. However, Ling Yu knew that the Lu Zhu on her back was not simple. This brat was from the devil sect. The reason why she did not flare up was because of Li Fan. Moreover, they also wanted to know what tricks the devil cult was playing. Humph, devil cult's lackey, it's time for you to show off. Ling Yu lowered her voice and said, All right. Lu Zhu nodded. She shook her sleeves, and a few black darts flew through the air towards Cheng Mohan and Jean Hisao. Not only them, but Li Fan as well as Xia Ho and Murong Ai on the other side, were also taken care of. These black darts were hidden in the light, ordinary people couldn't see them at all. However, all the martial artists could feel it. Jean Hisao coldly snorted and nimbly leaped, dodging the black darts. However, the black darts suddenly exploded beside her, turning into hundreds of fine needles that scattered towards Jean Hisao. Don't panic. Cheng Mohan gently raised her hand, and those fine needles immediately stopped in front of them, floating in the air. Cheng Mohan shook her true energy, and those fine needles scattered on the ground. The minor phaseless magic was so tyrannical. Looking at Xia Yen and Murong Ai stretched out her hand and actually caught the black darts in her hand. Moreover, with a clench of her fingers, she forcefully crushed the black darts. Murong Ai had fused with the human-faced arachnid, and she cultivated the coiling silk soul-hooking hand. Her hands were even harder than alloys when she used her martial arts. A few small black darts couldn't do anything to her. As for the black darts flying towards Li Fan, Li Fan could only deal with them himself. Lin Yuetian was an ordinary person. Li Fan had to deal with the black darts and protect her at the same time. Li Fan had seen the needles that burst out when the black dart exploded just now. At this moment, there were 2 black darts flying towards him, one left and one right, one up and one down. Li Fan raised his true energy and forcefully broke through Cheng Mohan's internal energy. At the same time, he stomped on the ground, kicking up a large amount of sand. The sand contained the true energy within Li Fan's body. Ding 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 dang dang, the sand hit the 2 black darts. Although the fine needles exploded, they were all knocked away by the sand. Lu Zhu winked at Li Fan, meaning that he did a good job. Li Fan was so angry that he glared at Lu Zhu, meaning that he would teach her a lesson later. After a small exchange of pointers, the 4 people embarked on their respective journeys. Bai Jie obviously didn't know that such a thrilling thing had just happened. At this time, she was at the back of the team and slowly arrived at the match point. She was the only one from experimental high school who was able to keep up. The remaining 3 people were still stuck at the first match point. The second match point was a set of English questions. It asked a question in standard American English. As long as the answer was written in English, it would be considered as a pass. Lin Ying casually glanced at it and wrote down the answer without hesitation. Exactly. The staff was a bit surprised. This girl is so amazing. It seems that no question is too difficult for her. Go, go, go! Although Li Fan had intended to give way, Lin Yuetian's intelligence made him do a bunch of useless work. Even if Murong loved them, when she saw some American slang, she couldn't help but think for a moment. How did you answer so quickly? Li Fan couldn't help but ask while carrying Lin Yuetian on his back. I simplified these sentences and said a lot of useless things. In fact, the basic question is just one sentence. Lin Yuetian casually said. The others were stunned by those language skills. Li Fan really admired Lin Yuhi. This girl's intelligence is definitely close to a demon. The next test was placed in front of Li Fan. If an ordinary person ran to this place, their physical strength would begin to run out, and their speed would certainly slow down. But Li Fan was not affected at all. For him, these few runs were not even a warm-up. In front of him was a high wall, 5 meters high. In order to pass the test, he had to climb up. The staff came up and wanted to put safety measures on Li Fan, but Li Fan refused. Lin Yuetian, hold me tight. Lin Yuetian had absolute trust in Li Fan. She wrapped her hands around Li Fan's neck and tightly clung to his broad back. Chapter 679. Li Fan didn't do anything too shocking. He directly stretched out his hands and grabbed the protruding stones on the wall. This place was originally a simulated rock climbing facility. To Li Fan, it was nothing. He grabbed and stepped on the rocks as he slowly climbed up the high wall. Bai Jie was scared out of her wits. What's going on? He's too bold. He actually climbed up without any safety measures. Isn't he afraid of falling to his death? Also, Lin Yuetian. Is she retarded? Impossible. Although she didn't admit defeat, Bai Jie understood that Lin Yuetian was a smart woman. She wouldn't do such a dangerous thing. On the other hand, Li Fan's movements were steady. He didn't seem to panic at all. He climbed up step by step. Lin Yuetian also hugged him tightly. The 2 of them were like one person. Soon, they reached the height of 5 meters. Climbing, Cheng Mohan and Jin Qimo also reached the bottom of the 5 meters high wall. Cheng Mohan asked, "Only a fool would climb." After saying that, Su Hisao leaped 3 meters into the air. Then she pressed her palm against a stone brick and jumped another 2 meters, easily landing on the high wall. "You're too much." Ling Yu also followed. She stepped on the high wall with both feet and caught up to Jin Hisao. Cheng Mohan and Lu Zhu looked at each other. The 2 of them stood on the high wall and attacked at the same time. Cheng Mohan waved her hand. True Qi enveloped Ling Yu as if she wanted to throw her out. Lu Zhu immediately threw out a black dart, but it was blocked by Cheng Mohan's other hand. Just then, Xia Yi carried Murong AI on her back and directly jumped over the heads of the 4 people. "You guys have fun." Murong waved her hand at them. The four women looked at each other and stopped fighting and chased after Xia Yi. Bai Jie and Wang Chen were completely dumbfounded. They were in the middle of putting on safety measures. Now, it was as if they were struck by lightning. How is this possible? Not to mention them, all the students in the number 1 experimental high school were stunned. Did they really take stimulants? But even stimulants can't achieve this effect. However, the students from private number 2 high school were not surprised at all. They even looked at the students from number 1 high school with disdain. These people were really cannon fodder. What was so strange about that? After jumping over the high wall, it was 50 meters of flat road. To Li Fan and the others, this was simply a free gift. He ran at the front all the way to the third match point. The third match point was a physics question. There were a bunch of lines drawn on it, and the question was which parts should be modified to make the 3 lights light up at the same time. This kind of question was already at a professional level of difficulty. Ordinary students would immediately break their pens when they saw it. However, Lin Yuthan handled it as if it were a piece of cake. She changed a few strokes casually. Pass, pass. The staff was dumbfounded. They had several answers in their hands, but Lin Yuthan actually came up with a new combination. This girl is a genius. Li Fan carried Lin Yuthan on his back. They were walking the last part of the way. In front of them was a large swimming pool. In the middle of the pool, there was a narrow wooden plank, like a single plank bridge, waiting for each team to pass. According to the rules of the competition, if one fell into the water, he could choose to start again. However, this was not a problem for Li Fan. He steadily stepped on the wooden plank that was as wide as 2 hands and walked toward the opposite side. The water below was sparkling. Under the azure blue water was a white checkered tile that was neatly laid out. It made people feel comfortable as if something was rippling. Why don't we walk slower? Lin Yuthan leaned on Li Fan's back and said softly. Li Fan was a little surprised. Not fighting for the first place? We're already in the lead. Lin Yuechisan said. Li Fan turned his head and saw that the people behind him were struggling to get the physics question. Everyone saw a different drawing, so their answers were also different. Murong AI was the fastest to answer. She was modifying the drawing. The others were still deep in thought. However, it would still take some time for Murong AI and Xia how to pass the single plank bridge. Walk slower. I want to enjoy the victory more. Lin Yuthan whispered into Li Fan's ear. Won't you enjoy it more when you reach the finish line? Now is the moment. Okay, I'll do as you say. Li Fan could not do anything about this girl. He stepped on the single plank bridge and slowed down. Xia Hao was approaching Li Fan. However, Li Fan stood in the middle of the single plank bridge, blocking Xia Hao's way. Everyone was looking at them. How should Xia Hao cross the bridge now? But Xia Hao was not to be trifled with. She suddenly jumped up, trying to jump over Li Fan's head. Carrying a woman on his back and jumping more than 2 meters high, many people from experimental number 1 middle school were dumbfounded. What was going on? Was this woman still human? However, Li Fan was even more awesome. He suddenly stretched out a hand, grabbed Xia Hao's foot, and pulled her down from the air. Xia Hao landed on the single plank bridge, and Murong AI immediately launched an attack. She stretched out a claw and directly grabbed the top of Li Fan's head. This lass's competitiveness was quite strong. Li Fan hurriedly took a step back, avoiding Murong AI's claw. However, Xia Hao moved forward, allowing Murong AI to continue attacking Li Fan. Li Fan only had 1 combat power in his team. He could not let Lin Yuthan get injured, and he could not be too shocking. Li Fan did not turn his head. He stepped on the wooden plank and retreated. Xia Hao quickly followed, but at that moment, Li Fan suddenly lowered his body and stepped on the wooden plank with 1 foot. He spun his body and kicked Xia Hao. Xia Hao's body tilted, lost her balance, and fell into the pool. However, Xia Hao was indeed a disciple of Hua Mountain. She actually circulated true qi on her feet and forcibly stood upside down on the wooden plank. Damn, Li Fan wanted to complain. Wouldn't this scare people? However, Xia Hao only absorbed it for a moment. She immediately turned around and landed on the wooden plank again. Xia Hao's qigong was quite good. She stepped on the wooden plank again and looked at Murong AI. Jean Jiama and Ling Yu also caught up. The two of them rushed forward under the shocked gazes of the number 1 middle school students. Break the wooden plank. Lin Yuetan made a judgment in Li Fan's ear. Li Fan trusted Lin Yuechisan's judgment. He raised his foot and broke the wooden plank. The wooden plank broke into two and fell into the lake. As for Li Fan, he quickly stepped on the wooden plank that had not fallen and quickly left. Xia Hao and the others were also anxious and immediately chased after him. The number 1 experimental high school was no longer important. It was now a battle between the 4 teams. Li Fan were almost there. The last match point, to be precise, should be the finish line. Chapter 680. In front of them was a gong, and beside it was a mahogany hammer. Li Fan had already jumped to the side of the gong with Lin Yue. Lin Yue stretched out her hand and grabbed the mahogany hammer. However, Ling Yu, Jin Jiama, and Xia Ho were following closely behind. The falling wooden plank could not stop them. After all of them were experts in Qinggong. Cheng Mohan stretched out her hands and used the minor formless magic art to hold onto Li Fan's body, trying to pull him back. However, Li Fan had already wrapped his body with true qi. At the same time, he took a step back and did a swallow 3 flips. His left foot stepped on his right foot, and his right foot stepped on his left foot. He leaped forward and broke free from Cheng Mohan's control. This swallow 3 flips was something that Li Fan had learned from Yin Xiaoru. Now that he was using it, it was extremely beautiful. The number 1 high school students were all dumbfounded. They thought they were watching a movie. Li Fan landed beside the gong, and Lin Yuying grabbed the drumstick. Cheng Mohan stretched out her hand, and the drumstick actually left Lin Yuying's palm and flew toward Cheng Mohan. Don't even think about it. Ling Yu carried Murong's Xiao AI. Xiao AI stretched out her hand and grabbed the drumstick. However, a black dart knocked the drumstick out of Xiao AI's hand, and it flew into the air. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the drumstick. Everyone seemed to want to grab the drumstick, but there were too many people fighting over it. Lin Yusen, do you trust me? Li Fan asked. Lin Yuichsen nodded without hesitation. Okay. Li Fan blew on the drumstick, and the true qi in his body shot out like a cannonball, directly hitting the drumstick. Bang! The drumstick was blown high into the air. Cheng Mohan seemed to want to use the minor phaseless divine art to pull the drumstick back, but the distance was too far. The 3 women jumped up, but there was a limit to their Qinggong. They couldn't reach the drumsticks that had already flown dozens of meters high. At the same time, Li Fan had already thrown Lin Yuying high into the air. Oh my God! When Bai Jie saw this, she was stunned. At the same time, Lin Yuying had already grabbed the drumstick in midair. Then her body began to lose gravity and she quickly fell into the pool. However, she wasn't surprised at all. Instead, her gaze was firm as she looked at the gong in the distance. Unbeknownst to her, Li Fan had already arrived beneath her. He pushed out with both hands, removing the force from Lin Yuechisan's fall, and at the same time, pushed Lin Yuechen out. In the blink of an eye, Lin Ying landed at the place where the gong was. She waved the drumstick and slammed it hard on the gong. The force used by Li Fan wasn't too big nor too light. It was just enough for Lin Yuechen to land steadily on the platform. Li Fan fell into the pool, splashing water everywhere. However, everyone was dumbfounded. Is this a competition that students should play? Damn it, they're all gods. The other girls grabbed the drumsticks one by one. Each of them hit the drum and swept past the finish line. The people from number 2 high school took the first 4 places. The remaining people from number 1 high school were blocked by the other side of the pool, unable to play this game. Bai Jie felt that her brain wasn't enough to process this. How to play? How to play? This group of people, each and every one of them is too abnormal. Are they really just students? They actually only got 4th place. Ling Yu was very dissatisfied. She glared at Lu Zhu. Lu Zhu shrugged her shoulders, implying that it had nothing to do with her. Lu Zhu had indeed tried her best. Moreover, the combination of Li Fan and Lin Yuechen was too strong. He had both intellect and martial techniques. You're destined to be inferior to me. Although Jin Hisao got third place, he looked at Ling Yu happily. This made Ling Yu very annoyed. The male teacher from number 1 high school was also dumbfounded. This was a bit different from what he had expected. It seems that our student's performance is more stable. Liao Wushuang smiled warmly. Teacher Wang, thank you for showing your style and letting us win on the first day. The male teacher really didn't want to say anything. Was this letting them win? Was this a stable performance? Are Teacher Liao's students all monsters? He couldn't figure it out. I'm not convinced. Wang Chen suddenly said, how could ordinary people be like them? They must have taken some kind of stimulant. Brother, we're all students. Moreover, this is just a leisure extracurricular competition. Li Fan climbed out of the pool and stood on the shore, dripping wet. He looked at the seated player and said, using stimulants in this kind of situation, have you read too many novels? Bastard, you dare to humiliate me. You're just a waste from a private school. Wang Chen was a bit angry. Under Bai Jie's signal, he directly stepped forward and grabbed Li Fan with both of his hands. Li Fan didn't hold back. He grabbed Wang Chen's arm and kicked him into the pool. Go down and calm down. Li Fan said, next time, if you can't afford to play, then don't play. Wang Chen angrily looked at Li Fan in the water, but the male teacher scolded him. Wang Chen, calm down. This is a competition, respect the result. But teacher, I'm not convinced. Shut up. The male teacher was also unhappy, but he had no choice but to clap his hands and let Wang Chen control his temper. Today, everyone's performance is good. Liao Wushuang looked at Li Fan and the others with a smile and said, in tomorrow's competition, continue to work hard. Let's go to the cafeteria and eat dinner first. Then go to the big classroom. We're going to concentrate on the evening self-study. Even if they came out for a field trip, they couldn't neglect their studies. Li Fan, go and change your clothes. Liao Wushuang was worried that Li Fan would catch a cold. No need, Teacher Liao. Li Fan smiled, then his body erupted with true qi, emitting billowing white smoke, and his clothes were instantly dried. You see, it's okay. Li Fan pulled his dry clothes and winked at Liao Wushuang. You. Liao Wushuang couldn't do anything to Li Fan. Let's go eat together. Every day, the winner of the competition can enjoy the high-class cafeteria, while the people of the experimental high school can only eat ordinary lunchboxes. These students looked at the people of the second high school with jealousy. They didn't expect that they would lose. They are the experimental high school, the best school in a city. These students, should be the elite of the elite. The elite actually lost. This is really unforgivable. We will not lose. Bai Jie unwillingly said, tonight, we will find them to settle the account. How, class monitor? Wang Chen asked. Let's do this. Bai Jie lowered her voice and told her idea to Wang Chen. Is this good? Just give them a little lesson, let them know the gap between the elite and ordinary people in this society. Chapter 681. In the evening, the two classes studied by themselves together. The lecture hall was indeed very big. The male teacher and Liao Wushuang sat in the front. The male teacher tried to please Liao Wushuang several times, but Liao Wushuang ignored him. After all, Liao Wushuang already had a crush on Li Fan, and only had eyes for Li Fan. Beside Li Fan were still the same girls, except for Lu Zhu. She saw several girls chatting with Li Fan. Their cheerful and witty appearance made her angry. Humph, I'm being pestered by flies here, but he's having fun. Liao Wushuang was a little angry, but the male teacher didn't know and thought that his charm had conquered Liao Wushuang. He spoke with fervor and assurance and continued, Teacher Liao, after the expansion is over, let's go out for a meal? Liao Wushuang was full of anger. She directly rolled her eyes at the male teacher and said, Sorry, I'm not interested. Liao Wushuang's expression was cold. The male teacher seemed to be a little embarrassed. He reached out his hand and touched his nose. Li Fan, don't whisper to each other. Liao Wushuang finally couldn't bear it anymore. Seeing Li Fan chatting so happily with the girls, her heart felt uncomfortable. It was impossible for her not to be jealous and completely ignore Li Fan's love life. No woman would be able to do this, especially to love Li Fan so deeply. She stood up and scolded Li Fan. And those girls? Liao Wushuang didn't want to only talk about Li Fan. She also scolded those girls. Ling Yu and the others couldn't help but roll their eyes. Is this woman going through menopause? She's too jealous. Sorry, Teacher Liao, we'll keep quiet. Li Fan quickly stood up and bowed to Liao Wushuang. Please don't be angry, Teacher Liao. It's good that you know. Sit down. Study hard. Yes, Teacher Liao. Li Fan didn't dare to speak anymore. He lowered his head and took out the test paper that Lin Yuichen had thrown at him. He began to do it one by one. Li Fan said, I love learning, and learning makes me happy. Lin Yuichen, how do we solve this problem? Li Fan used this time to ask Lin Yuichen for advice. This was exactly what Lin Yuichen wanted. She was very satisfied with answering these questions for Li Fan. She taught him the correct way of thinking step by step, and even changed it to a simpler way to understand, so that not only could Li Fan solve these questions, but he could also draw inferences from these questions and understand how to solve related types of questions. Teacher Liao, this student is very mischievous. The male teacher felt that he had a new topic to talk about. He immediately said, why don't I teach you how to deal with mischievous and ungrateful students from number 1 middle school? No, thank you. Liao Wushuang bluntly refused the good intention of the male teacher. This male teacher was a bit depressed, thinking, how can this beautiful female teacher of No. 2 middle school be so difficult to deal with? After the self-study class, it went a lot smoother. Li Fan no longer joked around and honestly did the questions. Liao Wushuang's expression also eased a lot. Occasionally she could answer a few words from the male teacher, but she still ignored him. After the self-study class, Lin Yuichen was a bit strange because she didn't see that girl, Bai Jie, in the classroom at night. Bai Jie's diligence in her studies wasn't any worse than his. This girl actually didn't come to the self-study class, which was really strange. When Li Fan and Lin Yuichen walked back together, Murong suddenly stepped forward and pulled Li Fan's sleeve. Brother-in-law, come to my place tonight. Don't you have other students? Let her figure it out herself. Murong said with a smile, making Li Fan very helpless. This little girl is starting to let her imagination run wild again. That won't do, Murong AI, why don't you know how to be reserved? Lin Yuichen immediately scolded Murong. This is your brother-in-law, you can't have any ideas. Rinjia doesn't have any ideas. Murong AI giggled and replied, I just want to help sister keep an eye on brother-in-law, that's all. Who told you women to be like wolves and tigers? Smelly girl, who are you saying is like a wolf and tigers? Hearing this, Jin Kumo immediately became unhappy and stared at Murong. Who knows who I am? Murong is not afraid of Jin Kumo at all. She is now one of Li Fan's Gu slaves. Her strength is close to the peak of perfection, so why would she be afraid of Jin Kumo? Even if others are not like wolves and tigers, you have to be like one. Otherwise, why would your nickname be Immortal of Beasts, right, Miss Jin Kumo? Do you want to fight? Jin Kumo is angry, his eyebrows are raised. Come on, do you think I am afraid of you? Murong is not afraid at all. My sister said that you people from the 4 major alliances are just a bunch of clowns, a motley crew. Do you think you can become an expert organization by gathering trash? Far from it, look at my brother-in-law's extraordinary escort agency. He can instantly kill you trash. Little girl, what do you mean? Hearing this, Ling Yu is immediately angry. Forget about Yi Jian, how can you say that we are riding horses? Isn't it the same thing? Yi Jian is a bit of an expert, snow dance personal guards have a bit of a reputation. But you riding horses, TSK, you are just a bunch of people, not worth mentioning. Murong. Ling Yu is furious. If you have the ability to say this, then come and fight me. But Murong agrees without hesitation. This is not a good place, let's go to the field. She points to the field below. Look over there, the moon is beautiful, it's the perfect backdrop for us. However, with your mediocre skills, You'll only be able to withstand 3 moves from me. Come on. I'm not afraid of you. Ling Yu is already extremely angry. She wants to fight to the death with Murong. Li Fan wants to stop them, but the 2 women do not listen to her. How about this? You fight, we will be your witnesses. Lin Yuten seems to see through Li Fan's thoughts, so she gives a suggestion. Let's decide the winner. It won't be considered a wasted fight, right? That's right. Come at me together. Ling Yu nodded. I want everyone to know that Murong's family is just SOSO. Humph, I will let you see what a woman from Murong's family is like. Come on. The 2 women have already come to this point. No one can stop them. Lu Zhu and the others are happy to watch the show. One by one they come over and follow them to the field. At the same time, Bai Jie is also leading a group of boys, secretly approaching Li Fan and the others. Did you bring everything? Bai Jie turned her head and asked the boys behind her. Chapter 682. Don't worry, class monitor, it's all done. Wang Chen smirks and opens a sack, which contains a few snakes. These are all non-venomous snakes that they caught from the mountain overnight. They are prepared to take them out to scare those fellows from number 2 private high school. They have a total of 10 male students, and each of their sacks is filled with various kinds of snakes. Catching so many in one night can be considered as making things difficult for them. Some of the male students didn't catch so many snakes, so they caught some insects instead. Bai Jie originally wanted to go to number 2 private high school's dormitory to scare them, but she didn't expect to see these few people that she hates the most on the sports field. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to capture all of them in one fell swoop and humiliate them. Class monitor, should we release them? Wang Chen feels that he can no longer suppress the power of desolation in his sack and is about to gush out at any time. No hurry, let's wait and see what they are going to do. Bai Jie waves her hand, signaling them to wait. These people are hiding in the corner, waiting for Bai Jie's signal to make their move. Ling Yu and Murong are standing face to face. Both of them are covered with moonlight. The appearance of these 2 women is of the highest quality. Under the moonlight, they look even more enticing, which really fascinates people. Li Fan and the others are standing on both sides, as if they are really here to watch the show. They would not interfere, because to martial fighters, any martial arts competition was sacred. I will be the referee for today's competition. Li Fan stands there and says, today, regardless of life or death, only victory or defeat. If either of you want to admit defeat, shout out loud, I, Li Fan, will guarantee your safety. I will not lose, brother-in-law. Hee, Murong's family is really arrogant. The 2 women are opposing each other tit for tat, seemingly no one has the intention to hold back. While Wang Chen and the others are hiding in the corner, they can't help but mutter. Class monitor, they seem to be fighting. There is nothing to see when 2 women fight, they are just grabbing hair and slapping mouth. TSK, if they can tear their clothes, that would be nice. This group of people is thinking too much, causing Bai Jie to roll her eyes. Tonight is to scare them and teach them a lesson. Don't let your imagination run wild. It's just 2 women fighting, what's there to see? Yes, the class monitor is right. We won't dare anymore. Bai Jie was known as the queen in the class. With just 1 sentence from her, the boys around her didn't dare to talk nonsense anymore. Get ready, the time is coming. Bai Jie looked at the 2 women who were about to make a move and felt that the opportunity was coming. Murong and Ling Yu stood face to face. Both of them raised their innate qi and their clothes fluttered even though there was no wind. Do it. Bai Jie suddenly gave an order. The boys immediately rushed out and opened their bags. They were ready to give Li Fan and the others a surprise. But at this moment, Murong suddenly let out a roar. Then, her eyes turned red as if she was a ferocious ghost. Her hands also turned black and her ponytail loosened, causing her messy hair to flutter in the wind. A black aura spread out from her body. It was as if she was a ferocious ghost. It was terrifying. The boys were originally in high spirits, but now they were so scared that they almost peed their pants. The bags in their hands fell to the ground. The snakes, bugs, and other things immediately fell under their feet, causing them to scream in fear. These people ran everywhere. Bai Jie was so scared that she almost peed her pants. She turned around and ran away. The few small poisonous bugs on Li Fan's body flew out. In their eyes, these bugs were the best food. However, Ling Yu and Murong had already started fighting. The fight between the two had attracted everyone's attention. No one would pay attention to a few small bugs. Ling Yu and Murong were both experts. The two stood on opposite sides. Murong circulated her innate qi and used the human-faced arachnid's coiling silk soul-hooking hand. As for Ling Yu, she was a disciple of Ame. She actually took out a soft sword from her sleeve and shook it. The soft sword hardened and pointed at Murong. Ling Yu's body slid forward. She stabbed at Murong. However, Murong extended her right hand and grabbed the soft sword. She bent it. Murong's coiling silk soul-hooking hand greatly strengthened the strength of her fingers. It was a bit too heaven-defying. Damn it! Ling Yu was a bit angry. Fortunately, the Ame sex sword techniques focused on the mother-child sword. She took out a short sword from her long sword and stabbed at Murong's heart. Murong extended her other hand and pinched the short sword. Ling Yu had more combat experience. After all, she had fought against the devil cult all year round. Her hands were stained with the blood of many people. She immediately lifted her foot and kicked Murong's stomach. She kicked Murong back a step. Murong took a step back and let go of the mother-child sword. Ling Yu adjusted her posture and used her Ame sex sword techniques. The mother-child sword, one high and one low, one front and one back, continuously attacked Murong. Murong was not an ordinary girl. She grabbed the mother-child sword with both hands and blocked Ling Yu's attacks. The two seemed to be equal in strength. However, Li Fan felt that he could clearly feel Murong's every move, heartbeat, and even emotional state. Murong was very unhappy. She seemed to be too irritated by Ling Yu. Li Fan guessed that this should be the side effect of the Gu slave. The other party would enjoy the 7 times sensitivity of his body. He would also have a little of the other party's emotional world. Thus, Li Fan could feel a little impatience and anger in Murong's body. The Gu worm in Murong's body was connected to Li Fan's mind. This was the emotional bridge between the two. Li Fan felt that he could use this union Gu to help Murong's love. Although Ling Yu did not provoke him, Li Fan still supported Murong's love in terms of emotions. He used the union Gu to influence Murong's emotions. Murong's love gradually calmed down. Li Fan slowly closed his eyes. He vaguely felt that he had become Murong's love, looking at everything Murong's love saw. The Gu worm in Murong's love was like a switch for Li Fan. He could use this Gu worm to sense Murong's love's facial features. Ling Yu held the mother-child sword and used Ame swordplay. It was like the autumn wind sweeping the fallen leaves. She was agile and swift. Her sword moved towards Murong's love's vital points. Although Murong AI was still able to defend herself, she was beginning to lose ground and was showing signs of defeat. Ling Yu became more and more pleased. The mother-child sword almost hurt Murong's love's vital points several times. At this time, Li Fan seemed to be possessed by his soul. He started to influence Murong's love. Murong's love's body shook. She seemed to feel her brother-in-law's existence. Chapter 683. Brother-in-law came into Murong AI's face was slightly red, but she was also very happy. She didn't expect that brother-in-law could actually use the Joy Gu in this way. Li Fan shared Murong AI's sight. Although he couldn't completely control Murong AI, he could influence her through some thoughts. Ling Yu was very pleased with herself. Her mother and child swords had already pierced through the night sky, stabbing towards Murong AI's throat. A duel was actually like this. There was no stopping point. Once a fight started, it was really a fight to the death. Once two experts started to exchange pointers, it was very easy to go overboard. Both sides were using killer moves. Whoever was lenient would easily die in the duel. Unless one's strength was much higher than the opponent and could completely control the opponent's rhythm. For example, if Li Fan fought Ling Yu, he could easily defeat her and still ensure Ling Yu's safety. But Ling Yu and Murong Ai's strength were on par. It was very hard to guarantee this point. Ling Yu's short sword had already reached Murong Ai's throat. Under Li Fan's influence, Murong Ai stretched out her finger and flicked Ling Yu's blade. Dang! A crisp sound was heard, and Ling Yu's blade was directly bounced off. And Murong Ai stretched out her other hand at the same time, grabbing the long sword in her hand and forcefully bending it. Immediately after, Murong Ai took a step forward, and her forehead fiercely hit Ling Yu's forehead. Murong Ai's forehead was already wrapped in true qi, and it was even denser than Ling Yu's protective true qi. Ling Yu was directly knocked back 3 steps, seeing stars, and shaking her head continuously. Lu Zhu was a little surprised. This kind of attack, why was it so similar to Li Fan's style? Could it be that Murong Ai had been following Li Fan for too long and was influenced by him, slowly becoming like Li Fan? Murong's love didn't stop there. She took advantage of Ling Yu's dizziness to jump forward and kick Ling Yu's head. Ling Yu's body flew out once again. Murong spread her hands apart and channeled her qi into her claws. She chased after Ling Yu's body with lightning speed, preparing to deal her a fatal blow. But at this moment, Tatsumi Hisao jumped out of nowhere and joined the battle with his snake fist. Her hands were like poisonous snakes, suddenly attacking the vital parts of Murong's love. Murong Ai instantly stopped in her tracks and gave up on chasing Ling Yu. Instead, she used the coiled silk soul hook hand to tangle with Jin Hisao's snake fist. Dang dang dang! In a second, the two of them had exchanged more than 10 moves. Although Murong's strength was close to reaching the peak of perfection, there was still a gap between her and Jin Hisao and Ling Yu, who had already reached the peak of perfection. But with her powerful coiled silk soul hook hand, she forcefully closed the gap between them. Moreover, Li Fan was an expert in defeating the strong with the weak. Under his influence, Murong Ai's coiled silk soul hook hand was about to break Jin Hisao's snake fist. Suddenly, one of Jin Hisao's hands changed into a tiger fist, while the other hand entered the crane form. His entire body was in the state of a tiger and crane. After using the tiger and crane form, Jin Hisao's aura seemed to have become much more powerful. Her crane fist was responsible for defense, while her tiger fist was responsible for smashing. She had both offense and defense, and her rhythm was fierce and irresistible. But Murong Ai was still as calm as ever. She used the coiled silk soul hook hand and clashed with Jin Hisao's tiger and crane form with her claws. At the same time, Murong Ai seized the opportunity and suddenly swept her leg out. Like a catapulting spider web, it directly hit Jin Hisao's chest and forced her to take a few steps back. Jin Hisao took 2 steps back and looked at Murong Ai in shock. This girl's attacks were quite methodical and experienced. She was like a soldier who had been through hundreds of battles. The hands were like 2 doors, and one could only use one's feet to kick others. Although everyone knew this principle, there were only a few people who could actually do it. The coordination of one's limbs had to be good to a certain extent, especially the control of one's own body. Only then would one be able to reach such a standard. Jin Hisao would never have imagined that Murong Ai would be possessed by Li Fan. Although Murong Ai's coordination of her limbs was not good, Li Fan could. Furthermore, he was experienced and had a good grasp of Jin Hisao's attacks. He was like a fish in water when dealing with Jin Hisao. I've underestimated you. Jin Hisao adjusted his rhythm and stared at Murong Ai. It's my fault. I'll correct it right now. As he spoke, Jin Hisao lowered his body and moved his hands according to the rhythm of his breathing. He pinched the thumb and index finger of each hand together and aimed at Murong Ai. Mantis fist. This was the most ferocious type of formless fist. It pursued the ultimate attack power. Sometimes, it could injure others or even oneself. Watch carefully. It doesn't matter if you're dead or injured. As Jin Hisao spoke, he suddenly slid forward and leaped 2 meters forward. He quickly closed in on Murong Ai. At the same time, he stabbed 2 fingers at Murong Ai. If his fingers landed on Murong Ai's body, there would definitely be 2 terrifying bloody holes. One of the 4 heavenly kings of the Sword Reliance sect, female immortal beast. This name was referring to Jin Hisao. Her reputation was even higher than Ling Yu's. Countless disciples of the devil cult had died in Jin Hisao's hands. Long Fangyu had tried to rope Jin Hisao in many times but was rejected by her. Although Whistling West Wind had many people, they urgently lacked experts. As for Laughing Sword Reliance Sect, they had always walked the path of elites and produced many experts. At this moment, Jin Hisao's mantis fist was aimed at Murong Ai's eyes. The mantis fist was fast, accurate, and deadly. Unless it was absolutely necessary, Tsugumi wouldn't use it. Once he used it, it would be either he or she would die. However, Murong Ai did not panic at all. Her 2 fingers grew bigger and bigger in her eyes. She suddenly stretched out her hands and grabbed 2 of Jin Hisao's fingers. However, the impact of the mantis fist was too great, especially since Murong Ai was much weaker than Jin Hisao. 2 fingers knocked Murong Ai's hands away and stabbed at her. However, Jin Hisao's attack rhythm had already been disrupted by Murong Ai. Murong Ai calmly took a step back and dodged Jin Hisao's attack. At the same time, Murong Ai's body fell back. She used her hands to support herself on the ground and kicked Jin Hisao's chin. Jin Hisao frowned. It was too late for him to block Murong Ai's attack. This girl's attack was as smooth as flowing water. It did not look like a little girl's attack at all. Jin Hisao's chin took 2 kicks and her body was sent flying. She fell heavily on the ground. Jin Hisao rolled backward and dispelled the force on his body. He got up again and looked at Murong Ai warily. Beast girl, although I have never liked you, it is time for us to let go of the grudge between us. Ling Yu held the mother-child sword and stood at the side. After watching for a long time, she could not help but speak. For the glory of the 4 major alliances, it is time to join hands. Chapter 684. The glory of the 4 major alliances shouldn't depend on numbers. Jin Kumo seemed a little unhappy. Why are you thinking so much? This girl is from Murong's family. We can't let Murong's family keep suppressing us. Ling Yu was very unhappy. She knew that if the 2 of them did not join forces, they would not be able to defeat Murong Ai. Although Murong Ai's inner strength was not as good as hers and Tsugumi's, she was like a martial arts master who had been through hundreds of battles. She could easily nullify their moves, and she could even execute a series of skills that were even more beautiful. She could instantly kill the 2 of them, leaving them powerless to fight back. How could they let this go? If this continued, the 4 major alliances would be humiliated. Murong Ai, let's join forces against you. If you don't want to, you can tell us. In the end, Jin Hisao decided to ask Murong Ai about it. Come on. Murong Ai also wanted to try and see how far she could go. Moreover, she had her brother-in-law's help now. Even if she encountered 2 experts, she would be able to deal with them easily. Li Fan did not know whether to laugh or cry. This girl was too arrogant. Jin Kumo and Ling Yu were the top experts in the 4 major alliances. When they saw that Murong Ai had agreed, they were happy and unhappy at the same time. They looked at each other and turned their heads at the same time. If possible, they did not want to join forces with each other. They hoped that this matter would not spread to the martial arts world. Jin Kumo lowered his body, almost sticking to the ground, and quickly approached Murong Ai. Ling Yu also carried the mother-child sword and launched a surprise attack at Murong Ai from behind. Amei swordplay was famous for its speed, especially the mother-child sword. Its attack rhythm was twice as fast as other sword techniques. The 2 swords left afterimages as they stabbed at Murong Ai's back. At the same time, Jin Kumo's mantis fist was already in front of Murong Ai. Murong was not the least bit impatient. She slowly turned around and stretched out her hands, 1 on each side, quickly dealing with the 2's attacks. No matter how fast Jin Kumo and Ling Yu's attacks were, Murong's rhythm remained the same. With just 1 hand, she was able to deal with the 2 experts easily. Lu Zhu and the others were dazzled by what they saw. Murong was not famous in the underworld, but they did not expect her to be able to deal with 2 experts from the alliance at such a young age. It was really inconceivable. As expected of Murong Ying's younger sister, Her strength was also very strong. However, Xiaohu tilted her head slightly and looked at Li Fan, who was resting with his eyes closed. She had been controlled by Li Fan's true qi, so she felt that Murong's love was completely based on Li Fan's fighting style. Was she also controlled by Li Fan's true qi? But Li Fan's eyes were closed. How could he use his true qi to control it with his eyes closed? The four alliances are only SOSO. Murong suddenly sneered, as if she did not care. This infuriated Ling Yu and Jin Qimo, and the rhythm of their attacks became even more chaotic. What a cunning mind! Lu Zhu's strength was not good, but his understanding of martial arts was not shallow. Xiaohu was a little confused, so he explained to Xiaohu. Murong seems to be dealing with the two of them alone, but she is actually using a Tai Chi technique. She becomes a medium, absorbing Jin Qimo and Ling Yu's strength and using it on their opponents. You mean to say that although Jin Qimo and Ling Yu's attacks are powerful, they are actually helping Murong and hurting each other? Yes, that's what I mean. Lu Zhu nodded. This Murong is very smart. But she's just a little girl, how could she think of such a clever attack technique? Lu Zhu also began to doubt. This did not seem like Murong's strength. How could a mere Murong have such a level of attainment? If it was Li Fan fighting, it would be more like it. Wait, Li Fan? Lu Zhu felt that he had thought of something. Could it be that Li Fan was interfering? This was definitely possible. Li Fan was the most cunning fellow. Moreover, he was resourceful and had endless methods. Perhaps he had used some kind of method to direct Murong AI to fight. The technique of exerting force in Tai Chi was not something that just anyone could learn. He was talented and smart, but he had only learned a little bit. However, it was just superficial knowledge. But the Tai Chi technique that Murong used was obviously very profound, and did not seem like a realm that a little girl could comprehend. Lu Zhu thought for a long time, and there was only one idea in his mind, and that was Li Fan. It was definitely Li Fan's doing. But how did he do it? Lu Zhu thought for a while and suddenly thought of a possibility. Could it be that Li Fan used his true qi to cover Murong's body and control Murong's love? Because Li Fan's true qi was indeed very good, and it even surpassed the level of small phaseless divine technique. If he wanted to use his true qi to control Murong's love, it shouldn't be difficult. If Li Fan knew that Lu Zhu could guess this step, he would definitely be extremely shocked. But Lu Zhu's imagination was limited, and he could not guess the 7 emotions and 6 desires happiness gu. In this world, there were only a few people who knew about the 7 emotions and 6 desires happiness gu. Lu Zhu guessed for a long time, and finally decided to give up. Damn it! Jin Jiama and Ling Yu were getting anxious after failing to attack for a long time. One of them used the Amei mother-child sword that was as fast as the wind, and the other used the soul-severing mantis fist that was as fierce as a ghost. Both of them activated their true qi and prepared to use their ultimate move, wanting to deal with Murong's love in one move. But Murong's love was waiting for this opportunity. She took advantage of the fact that both of them were using their ultimate move, and suddenly crossed her hands, forcibly leading both of their attacks together. Clang! Bang! Jin Jiama watched as his and Ling Yu's attacks collided, but his body was moved by Murong's love, causing him to lose control. Murong's love also stretched out her hands and directly grabbed the top of both of their heads, as if she was going to break their skulls and crush their heads. Li Fan suddenly opened his eyes and pushed his hands forward, hitting the tiger. Double. With 2 punches, Murong's love was pushed back, and Ling Yu and Jin Jiama also fell down, both of them lying on the ground. All right, both sides stop here, Li Fan said. Everyone fought to a draw. But Murong's love was a little unhappy. I obviously won. Li Fan glared at her and she calmed down. Li Fan's meaning was clearly saying, don't you know how you won? Murong's love didn't say anything, and Ling Yu and Jin Jiama also didn't know what to say. This time, it was indeed the two of them who had lost. Moreover, they had lost completely, and they did not even have the slightest bit of anger. Are the people from Murong Villa really so powerful? Chapter 685. Alright. There's nothing to feel bad about losing to someone from Murong's family. After returning to the dormitory, Xia Yi and Jin Kumo stayed in the same room. She saw that Jin Kumo was unhappy, so she comforted him. Senior sister Xia, you won't understand. Although Xia Yi was weak, she had started practicing martial arts a few years earlier than Jin Kumo, so Jin Kumo had to call her senior sister. Today is truly a great humiliation for our sword. It's all because I failed to live up to expectations that I lost so miserably. Jin Kumo was ashamed. No, you've worked hard. Xia Yi was kind and continued to comfort Jin Kumo. It's just that the enemy is a bit strong. After all, she's Murong Ying's younger sister and my junior brother's sister-in-law. She probably learned a lot of martial arts from them every day, right? Actually, this woman's martial arts are very evil. Although Jin Hisao was cold to men, his attitude towards women was not bad. But for some reason, every time she made a move, she had the demeanor of a master. How could that girl, Murong Ai, possibly have such a thing? I've heard that Murong Love's little girl doesn't do proper work, and her martial arts are very weak. How could she be as good as she was today? Maybe she had a fortuitous encounter. Xia Yan even tried to defend Murong Ai out of kindness. No matter how Tsujimo thought about it, this matter was infuriating. She was one of the 4 heavenly kings of Sword Reliance. Although there weren't many people in Sword Reliance, each of them was an elite, and they were definitely elites in the 4 major alliances. From the 4 heavenly kings to the Snowdance Guards, which one of them wasn't a gathering of experts. But in the blink of an eye, she was defeated by a person who had connections. And she was even with Ling Yu, one of the 4 hall masters. How shameful! How shameful! Alliance Master, I'm sorry. Jin Kumo suddenly felt sad. He stretched out his right hand and slapped the top of his head. Xia Yi was shocked. She immediately reached out and pulled Jin Kumo back. You little girl, what are you doing? Xia Ho, who was usually good-tempered, immediately became a little angry when she saw that Tsujimo didn't cherish his life. For people like me, living is a disgrace to the sword. What's the point? Jin Hisao's face was filled with grief and self-blame. Why don't you just let me die like this? How could you say something like that? Is there no one in this world who cares about you? There is. Alliance Master, Night Rain Pavilion. Jin Hisao's expression was still a little gloomy. Then live well. Xia Ho lectured Jin Jiama. If you have to die after losing a match, then wouldn't the number of people dying every day be as high as a mountain? Is this the style of your sword sect? Of course not. Jin Kumo was a stubborn young lady, but she was rendered speechless by Xia Yi's words. Then do you still want to die? It's okay. Tsugumi pondered for a moment before saying, what you said makes sense. Then do you understand? Xia Ming seemed a little happy. Yes, after I defeat Murong, I will die to avenge the disgrace of the sword. You! Xia Yi was so angry that she didn't want to speak anymore. But at this moment, someone knocked on the door. Xia Yi opened the door angrily and discovered that it was Ling Yu who entered. Jin Jiama immediately stood up and entered tiger and crane dual form as he looked at Ling Yu vigilantly. Ling Yu shook the medicine in her hand. Don't be agitated, I'm just here to give you medicine. A weasel paying respects to a chicken. Jin Jiama didn't appreciate Ling Yu's good intention. Tell me your purpose of coming, don't beat around the bush. It's very simple, I want to talk about cooperation. Ling Yu walked in confidently, and even Xia Ho couldn't stop her. Xia Ho felt very helpless. This girl was really willful. Why was the sword and the person riding the horse the same? Extremely willful. Greetings, senior sister Ling Yu. But she still had to give her the necessary etiquette. Xia Ho bowed to Ling Yu. Junior sister Xia Ho, good evening. Ling Yu also bowed to Xia Ho as a return greeting. After that, she basically ignored Xia Ho. Xia Ho was happy to be at ease, and she closed her eyes to rest. Ling Yu sat by Jin Jiama's bed and said to him, "Stay away from me." Jin Jiama glared at Ling Yu. This woman was too thick-skinned. Believe me, if it were me, I wouldn't want to be friends with you either. Ling Yu immediately said, piercing Jin Jiuma's heart. But let me ask you, is this the time for us to fight among ourselves? No matter what, we're all from the World Alliance. We were a family a few hundred years ago. Jin Jiuma snorted when he heard this. No matter how much we quarrel, we can't get rid of the relationship between us. We're all from the World Alliance because we want the four alliances to grow stronger and become an organization on par with the Murong Villa and the Sima family. No, we want to be more powerful than those two families and rule the martial arts world. You guys are quite ambitious, and you've long wanted to unify the four alliances, right? Jin Jiuma mocked without holding back. You don't have to be so sarcastic. Ling Yu generously persuaded Jin Jiuma. Whether the four alliances are united or not is a matter for the higher-ups to decide. It's a problem between Alliance Master Long and Alliance Master Luo. It has nothing to do with us. What I want to discuss with you right now is the most pressing issue. Sure, go ahead. Jin Jiuma decided to listen first. Look, who's our biggest opponent in our group? What are you talking about? Jin Jiuma, stop hiding yourself. It's too fake. Ling Yu curled her lips. Before we came out, the higher-ups gave us a death order to get close to Li Fan and steal Li Fan's heart, right? Jin Jiuma didn't say anything, but that seemed to be what he meant. And I know that you seem to have a close relationship with Yi Jian's Night Rain Pavilion. That's none of your business. Calm down, I don't mean anything else. I just want to say that since they gave us a mission, we have to complete it, right? Otherwise, in the long run, Li Fan's impression of us will only get worse and worse, and will be eliminated in the end. It doesn't matter what he thinks of me. This isn't just about him. It's related to the people behind us. Ling Yu analyzed the problem she knew with her opponent in a serious manner. Everyone knows that Li Fan is a stock with great potential and performance. I'm afraid his future achievements will be limitless. I won't refute you. Although he didn't want to admit it, he had to admit that Ling Yu was right. You and I are here to lure him into our respective alliances, right? Chapter 686. Jin Kumo did not say anything, nor did he refute. She was coaxed by Night Rain Pavilion. In order to help Alliance Master Luo's marriage, Jin Kumo could only rope in Li Fan. After all, among the four heavenly kings, he was the only one who fit the age of a high school student. As for the others, the youngest was Night Rain Pavilion, who was 23 years old. Zhang Xiaotian was almost 30 years old. As for Guo Mingming, there was no need to mention him. That man was already a weirdo. But it was this kind of man who had a cute girlfriend. It was said that it was arranged when they were still in the countryside, and the girl was coming to see him. It was unbelievable that this kind of man could find a girlfriend. It was simply illogical. Thinking about how the perfect alliance Master Luo was still single, Jin Kumo was worried. He came here to solve this problem for the alliance master. If he threw a tantrum, how could he face the alliance master when he returned? Jin Kumo pondered for a while, then nodded and said to Ling Yu, "Continue. The two of us should work together." Ling Yu emphasized, "If we don't work together, both of us will lose to that girl, Murong Love. Moreover, our opponent is not only Murong Love. That Cheng Mohan is also strange. I don't know what she's thinking, but it must be related to Li Fan. Also, Lu Zhu, that lackey of the Devil Sect, definitely wants to pull Li Fan into the Devil Sect. Can't we just kill him?" A cold light flashed in Jin Kumo's eyes. Since he's a lackey of the Devil Sect, why spare his life? That won't do. Ling Yu shook her head. I don't know if you've heard of this news. Lu Zhu and Li Fan have already become sworn brothers. What did you say? Jin Kumo was shocked. He didn't dare to believe Ling Yu's words. I'm not lying. This is definitely trustworthy information. Ling Yu said honestly, otherwise, do you think I wouldn't get rid of this lackey of the Devil Sect? If it wasn't for Li Fan protecting him, wouldn't you have already killed him? I know that Li Fan is protecting him, but I didn't expect them to have such a relationship. Tsugumi's face turned slightly red. It feels so exciting. Exciting your sister? Ling Yu rolled her eyes. She didn't expect this girl to be a fujoshi. In short, it's impossible to touch Lu Zhu. Li Fan is worried about him. Yes, yes, yes. Tatsumi Hisao nodded repeatedly. She even had the demeanor of a little girl. It was truly surprising. However, she would only reveal such an expression when it came to matters between men. This fujoshi. Ling Yu cursed in her heart, but she still pretended to be happy. Maybe they're up to something. Yes, yes, yes. Jinkamo nodded his head repeatedly. Ling Yu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Xia Na also sat beside her, not knowing what to say. These two girls were sitting in front of her and discussing how to deal with Li Fan. Were they looking down on her? Oh yes, there's also Xia Na. Perhaps Ling Yu sensed Xia Na's thoughts, but she suddenly said, but she's a member of the phenomenal escort agency. She's probably sent by the agency to protect Li Fan. Xia Yi thought to herself, this girl is quite clear about this. But what does she mean by that obviously disdainful tone? We don't have to think about Xia Na anymore. Who's next? Just Murong and Lu Zhu alone are enough for us to deal with. Tatsumi Hisao crossed her arms. But if it's Lu Zhu, I can let her go. Hey! Alright, we can't let the people from the devil cult abduct Li Fan. Tatsumi Hisao coughed dryly. We can't let Alliance Chief Luo lose his marriage. Otherwise, I'll be condemned for eternity. So, the two of us have to work together. Ling Yu continued to rope in Tatsumi Hisao. You and I are the closest people here. If we don't work together, we'll have wasted our time coming here. Alright, I understand what you mean. Tatsumi Hisao nodded. Then we'll do as you say. We'll work together and deal with Li Fan first. After that, we'll fight it out. Deal. Ling Yu was a little happy. The reason why she came here today was to convince Tatsumi Hisao. Indeed, she had the talent to be a lobbyist. She was the most suitable person to help Long Fengyu. Alright, since it's a deal, you can leave now. Tatsumi Hisao seemed to be unable to stand Ling Yu. After the deal was made, she waved her hand and started to drive Ling Yu away. Hurry up and leave. I'll be annoyed if I see you for another minute. Ling Yu's face was filled with black lines. This woman really doesn't recognize me. Anyway, we've already agreed on it, right? Don't worry. I'm a man of my word. Tatsumi Hisao's words made Ling Yu speechless. Ling Yu even started to suspect that she made a mistake by cooperating with Tatsumi Hisao. Why does the four major alliances want to rope in Li Fan? Junior brother is wholeheartedly focused on martial arts. He's a person who stands aloof from worldly affairs. Xiaoho looked at Tatsumi Hisao and couldn't help but ask. Aloof from worldly affairs? Tatsumi Hisao couldn't help but sneer. That fellow has long been involved in the whirlpool of power in the underworld. That's not his wish. Xiaoho spoke up for Li Fan. I've known junior brother for some time. He's actually just a martial arts fanatic. If it wasn't for Murong's family and the devil cult's matter, he wouldn't have gotten involved. I don't care if he's to be blamed or not. Tatsumi Hisao said, but since our alliance Master Luo has taken a fancy to him, he has to marry into E-Sword. What kind of rule is that? Xiaoho was a little unhappy. Whoever your alliance Master Luo takes a fancy to, she has to marry? If she takes a fancy to Obama, does that mean Obama has to marry over? Who would take a fancy to that bastard? Tatsumi Hisao rolled his eyes. It's alliance Master Luo's honor to take a fancy to Li Fan. I will protect my junior brother. I will absolutely not let him fall into your E-Sword's demonic claws. The underworld forces are pushing people away. Tatsumi Hisao said, Xiaoho, you've just entered the underworld. How much do you know about the underworld? I don't know what the underworld is, but I know what human nature is. Xiaohao was not convinced and said, a person should respect others. If your E-Sword doesn't respect others, you'll definitely be eliminated. You dare to speak ill of my E-Sword? Tatsumi Hisao frowned. The aura of an expert burst out from his body and charged towards Xiaoho. Xiaoho's hair stood on end. The aura of a wild beast from Tatsumi Hisao caused Xiaoho to panic. Chapter 687. Jin Kumo was indeed formidable. Although Xia Yi experienced a brief moment of panic, she immediately calmed down. She stretched out her hand, grabbed her belt, and shook it with force. She held a long sword in her hand. Although she couldn't bring her charming gentle sword out, Primeval Security Agency had made this waist sword according to Yen Kai and Li Fan's research. This wasn't an ordinary belt, it actually contained soft steel. Once qi was infused into it, it would turn into a treasured sword. With the addition of qi, the effect was no worse than a real treasured sword. Just like Li Fan's extraordinary sword, it was actually very difficult to make, and it wasn't as convenient as a waist sword. Jin Kumo smiled. Xia Yi, do you want to fight with me? Although your swordsmanship is not bad, it's still lacking compared to me. My Primeval Security Agency has never been afraid of anyone. Xia Yi's heroic spirit soared to the sky, and her imposing manner didn't lose to Jin Kumo. For junior brother, Xia Yi could even give up her life. This was Xia Yi's resolution. Although her strength wasn't good, her resolution made Jin Kumo's expression turn serious. You've done so much for Li Fan, but he might not know about it. Jin Kumo sneered. Is it worth it to do so much for a man? It's worth it. Xia Yi didn't hesitate. He can do the same for me. You're thinking quite well. Jin Kumo said, but that's impossible. Men will always be men and none of them are good. Including Night Rain Pavilion? Including him. Jin Kumo turned his head, his expression somewhat unnatural. You see, you're just lying to yourself. Xia Yi curled her lips. What's the point of this? This is my own matter. Jin Kumo glared at Xia Yi, but you're already head over heels in love with a man. My relationship with junior brother is very pure. It's not as complicated as you think. Xia Yi immediately explained. Oh, you're saying that you don't like him? Jin Kumo wasn't someone who was easy to deal with. His question left Xia Yi speechless. In short, it's not what you think. Woman, why must you lie to yourself? Jin Hisao ridiculed Xiaoho. That Li Fan doesn't care about you at all. Don't think too highly of yourself. I can handle my own matters. I don't need you to teach me. Xia Yi was a little angry. Why was Tsutomu Hisashi as hard and smelly as a rock in the toilet? In short, in the end, even if we have to carry him, we will still carry Li Fan to Yijian. Jin Hisao rolled his eyes. Xia Yi, why don't you help me persuade Li Fan? Why should I help you? Absolutely not. Xiaoho immediately shook her head and rejected Jin Kumo. As you can see, if you don't help me, Li Fan will be taken away by the Whistling West Wind or the Devil Cult. Even Ling Yu had underestimated Jin Jioma's intelligence. She was now slowly instigating Xia Yi's rebellion. Compared to relying on the sword, riding a horse is simply a huge vat. Their alliance master Long Fangyu, that fatty, was full of schemes and shrewdness. He was not worthy of being friends with. As for the Devil Cult, there is no need to mention it. Lu Zhu is Li Fan's sworn brother. If Lu Zhu pulls Li Fan into the Devil Cult, have you thought about the consequences? Xia Yi felt a chill run down her spine when she heard those words. People in the pugilistic world have no choice. Li Fan has already entered the pugilistic world and is ranked 88th on the famous person list. He can be considered to have some fame. He also has the absolute Art 7 hero fist. There are countless people who want to rope him in. Compared to him, Yijian is the best choice. I will persuade him. Xia Yi was originally a person without her own opinion. This time, she was successfully instigated. Little junior brother has his own ideas. He might not necessarily listen to me. It doesn't matter. You can persuade him when you have time. After all, you two have a close relationship. I can see that he is quite concerned about you. Jin Kumo was a little proud in her heart. She was still very powerful. At least she successfully instigated Xia Yi. However, seeing that Xia Yi was still a little hesitant, she added another sentence. There are 4 major alliances in the pugilistic world. The one with the best reputation is Yijian. Li Fan joining Yi Jian and getting married to Alliance Master Luo can be said to be a wonderful thing. In the future, it will become a legend in the pugilistic world. Jin Kumo winked at Xia Yi. Look at Alliance Master Morong. That domineering woman only treats Li Fan as her private property. When has she ever respected Li Fan? Xia Yi thought about it and it seemed to be the case. All right, I'll try my best. But you're a woman who understands right and wrong. I admire you. Jin Kumo became even more proud. It was late at night. Jin Kumo followed the rules of a martial artist and went to bed early. Not long after, he fell into a deep sleep. However, Xia Yi lay on the bed and could not fall asleep for a long time. Is this really what little junior brother wants? Xia Yi tossed and turned for a long time before she slowly fell asleep. That night, Xia Yi dreamt that she and little junior brother had returned to Mount Hua. The two of them stood beside the hut on the cliff and were practicing the charming sword technique together. Xia Yi looked at little junior brother's pure and spirited eyes. Xia Yi blushed slightly. She did not want to wake up from this dream. The next morning, the students of the two classes were woken up. Li Fan stood in the crowd in high spirits. Xia Yi's eyes were slightly tired. She was helping Li Fan tidy up his clothes, which made many boys envious. Little senior sister, you don't seem to be in good spirits. Li Fan could not help but be concerned when he saw Xia Yi's state. Although Xia Yi was not an outstanding beauty, she was still youthful and beautiful. She was like a willow in March. Her beauty was so natural that it tugged at one's heartstrings. Xia Yi was born beautiful and grew up in Mount Hua. Thus, she never put on makeup. Her eyes were slightly red and swollen, which made her look sickly beautiful. It was truly heart-wrenching. I'm fine, Xia Yi gently rubbed her eyes. Maybe it's because I changed beds, so I can't sleep well. I've wronged little senior sister. If you really can't do it, little senior sister can go down the mountain first. Li Fan suggested. We still have 2 days and 1 night to travel. Don't overwork little senior sister's body. I won't. I'll adjust myself. Xia Yi smiled gently and reached out to brush away the fallen leaves on Li Fan's shoulder. Autumn is dry. I have to help you brew some chrysanthemum tea. Li Fan was touched. After all, Xia Yi was unwilling to go down the mountain to take care of him. Little senior sister, don't always think about me. Take care of your body. I know. Look at you. Why are you even more naggy than me? Xia Yi helped Li Fan tidy up and stood silently by the side. The girls looked at her and were a little envious. Chapter 688. Xia Yi was one of the people by Li Fan's side. After coming down from Mount Hua, she had been following Li Fan and joined his fiefin escort agency as an escort. Later, Xia Yi was appointed as Li Fan's personal butler, responsible for managing Li Fan's daily affairs. Cheng Mohan looked at Xia Yi, recalling the information she had read, and made some judgments in her heart. This Xia Yi's strength wasn't that great. She was at the bottom of Mount Hua. After getting to know Li Fan, she seemed to have learned a charming swordsmanship from Li Fan. Although she had a slight breakthrough in swordsmanship, it couldn't make up for her lack of talent. If she followed Li Fan, she would only be a burden to Li Fan. If she didn't have an agreement with Li Fan, this Xia Yi seemed to be a good breakthrough point. However, even if the two of them had an agreement, it seemed that she could use Xia Yi to lure Li Fan into the trap without hurting her. Cheng Mohan felt that these 3 days and 2 nights of outdoor activities were a good opportunity. I must find a way to kill Li Fan in one fell swoop and complete this mission. Today's activity is a 15-kilometer cross-country hike. Liao Wushuang suddenly clapped her hands and announced. Ah! When the students heard this, they suddenly had a mental breakdown. Cross-country? 15 kilometers? My God! Most of the students were already crying for their parents after walking 1 kilometer. Now, it was a 15-kilometer hike on such a rugged mountain road. Who could bear it? The students from number 2 high school were complaining, but the students from number 1 experimental high school didn't say anything. The first day of the competition had already caused a serious mental impact on them. The second day, They didn't know what the situation would be like. Bai Jie stood there, her face was still a little pale. Obviously, she hadn't recovered from the shock last night. Her condition was very bad, really bad. Yesterday's events almost subverted her worldview. Li Fan, Lu Zhu, Murong AI. These people, what is their background? Especially Murong AI, this lively little girl was holding Li Fan's arm and jumping around. But in Bai Jie's eyes, Murong's love was like a terrible female ghost, making her heart palpitate. Private second high school. Just what kind of people were they? Bai Jie, what's wrong? When Lin Yuetan saw Bai Jie's frightened look, she couldn't help but ask. Although they weren't on good terms, they had grown up together. Bai Jie suddenly grabbed Lin Yuan and dragged her to a less crowded place. What are you doing? Lin Yuan was a little surprised. What is Bai Jie up to this time? Those people are terrifying demons. Bai Jie's voice trembled. Stay away from them. Who are they? Those. Before Bai Jie could finish her words, Li Fan, who knows when, stood behind them and whispered. You two, let's go. Ugh. When Bai Jie turned her head and saw Li Fan, she was so scared that she almost peed. I was wrong, don't eat me. Bai Jie cried and begged. When Wang Chen and the others saw Bai Jie's appearance, these boys from Experimental First High School directly stepped forward and blocked Bai Jie. Standing in front of Li Fan, they glared at Li Fan. Li Fan was a bit baffled. What's wrong with these people? Last night, I seem to have seen them. Each and every one of them even caught a bunch of game, but they were all taken advantage of by my poisonous insects. What the hell are they doing today? Li Fan, don't even think about making a move on our class monitor. Yes, we are not afraid of you. There are so many of us, one punch from each of us is enough to knock you down. Those boys mustered up their courage and roared. Bai Jie was so touched that she wanted to cry. They are too reliable. Li Fan felt even more baffled. What the hell are they doing? He took a step forward, wanting to ask about the situation. But when he took a step forward, those boys were so scared that they fled in all directions. A few of them even sat on the ground, their bodies turning soft. Almost in the blink of an eye, there was no one in front of Bai Jie anymore. Bai Jie wanted to cry but had no tears. It was too early to say that they are reliable. What the hell are you guys doing? You're all crazy. Li Fan couldn't be bothered with them. With a wave of his hand, he left with Lin Yi. Class monitor, are you all right? Wang Chen crawled over again and asked Bai Jie in a low voice. Scram. You coward. Bai Jie was so angry that she was about to cry. Class monitor. I really tried my best. Wang Chen also felt wronged. Just now, when Li Fan took a step forward, he was indeed so scared that his legs turned soft. You trash. What's the use of having you? All of you are trash. Bai Jie couldn't help but curse. It's Li Fan who is too fierce, Wang Chen emphasized. He doesn't seem like a human, and that Murong loves. Oh my god, don't tell me he's possessed by a female ghost. Don't scare me. How else can I explain it? How about we take a leave and leave? This is a matter of life and death. No. Bai Jie clenched her teeth and looked at the back of Lin Yutin and the others as they left. I want to save Lin Yutin. I want to save Lin Yutin. Bai Jie emphasized. Although our relationship has always been bad, we grew up together after all. I can't watch her fall into the evil claws of those people, but how do we save her? When the time comes, just listen to me. Bai Jie pulled Wang Chen along and followed the group. Walking for 15 kilometers on foot was indeed an ordeal for ordinary students. After walking for 5 kilometers, they were already panting from exhaustion. Liao Wushuang and the male teacher had no choice but to let them stop and rest first. Everyone rest here, don't run around. Liao Wushuang's voice clearly rang in everyone's ears. Li Fan and Murong, on the other hand, were full of energy and didn't seem tired at all. Bai Jie saw this but didn't say anything. Resting after 5 kilometers was about what she had expected. She nodded at Wang Chen. Wang Chen understood and secretly followed Bai Jie. The two turned into a small road. This expansion center was built by my dad's company. I used to come here often. Bai Jie led Wang Chen through the small road and soon arrived at a small wooden house in the forest. We're here, it's here. Bai Jie took out the key and unlocked the wooden house. This wooden house was built very simply, but it was very unique. It was like a paradise. Bai Jie walked into the wooden house. It was also very clean. It was obvious that people often came here to clean it. My dad likes to hunt. The entire back mountain is his hunting area. Bai Jie said as she opened a cabinet door. There were a few shotguns inside. Wang Chen's eyes lit up. He couldn't help but want to touch the shotgun but was slapped away by Bai Jie. Don't touch it, be careful. Chapter 689. Wang Chen somewhat resentfully retracted his hand, but his eyes kept staring at the few shotguns, unwilling to leave his line of sight. These shotguns are my dad's. I've learned a little from him before, so I know how to use them. Bai Jie picked up a shotgun and skillfully fiddled with it a few times, examining the shotgun. Looking at Bai Jie's skillful appearance, Wang Chen couldn't help but swallow his saliva. Class leader. Is this really okay? What is it? Bai Jie glanced at Wang Chen, not knowing what he meant. But looking at his appearance, he seems a little scared. It's this thing. Wang Chen lowered his voice and said, this is a shotgun. Yeah, you don't need to remind me. I know it, and I'm more familiar with it than you. Bai Jie's face was full of pride. When she picked up the shotgun, she felt like she owned the whole world. But this thing is too dangerous. Although Wang Chen likes guns, he is still a student after all. He is still a little afraid of this thing. If we really break them, or kill them, what should we do? What are you afraid of? Bai Jie has regained her courage. She shouted, those people are some monsters, didn't you see? How can we deal with them without guns? We are saving people, understand? Really okay? If you're afraid, then scram. I can handle it alone. Bai Jie pulled the bolt and checked the bullets inside. Her shotgun is much more advanced than the Devil's Style 38. After all, it is a product of recent years. However, the reason why the Demon King of Confusion liked the 38 style was not because he liked its power, but because he deeply loved its rich historical aura. Wang Chen also mustered up his courage. He is used to being Bai Jie's follower, so he has nothing to say now. As long as Bai Jie gives the order, he will climb a mountain of swords and plunge into a sea of flames without hesitation. Bai Jie packed up the shotgun, wrapped it in a white cloth, carried it on her back, and stuffed a few bullets into her hand. You're not going to give me one? Wang Chen is still a little eager to try. His eyes stared at the closed cabinet, feeling a little regretful. Don't think about it. Bai Jie slapped the back of Wang Chen's head. You don't know anything about guns. You will misfire if you use it. You really don't trust me. Have you ever touched a gun? Understand every part of a gun's structure? Have you ever fired a gun? Have you ever hit anyone? Bai Jie's series of questions dumbfounded Wang Chen. All right. Wang Chen listened to Bai Jie. Bai Jie carried the gun on her back and happily left the house. Her timid aura from before was gone. At this moment, she was valiant and high-spirited, like a female warrior who was about to enter the battlefield. Wang Chen looked at Bai Jie's back with admiration. His future wife must be such a woman. It was a pity that she didn't see him in her eyes. The group moved very slowly. Bai Jie and Wang Chen followed at the back of the group. Wang Chen glanced at Bai Jie. Bai Jie shook her head, indicating that now was not the time to make a move. Wang Chen didn't say anything and silently followed Bai Jie. He didn't know why, but he felt a sense of security when he was with Bai Jie. He was clearly a man, so why would he rely on a woman? This is really inconceivable. Wang Chen couldn't believe what he was feeling, but this feeling was real. This is really strange, Wang Chen muttered to himself and continued to follow behind Bai Jie. But at this time, Bai Jie's eyes didn't fall on the boy who had been following her. She kept looking at someone, not willing to move her eyes away. She knew that she didn't keep staring at this boy because she liked him. She was preparing to give this boy a ruthless blow to save her old enemy, Lin Yu. It said that old enemies love to kill each other. Bai Jie felt that at this moment, she finally experienced this feeling. Bai Jie was like a real veteran hunter. She quietly waiting for the opportunity to attack. This damn devil actually transformed into a human. Bai Jie believed that a random shot wouldn't be able to kill him. She must aim at his head or heart and kill him in one shot. For these students, a full 15 kilometers cross-country journey was simply fatal. After walking for 10 kilometers, their stamina was almost exhausted. Liao Wushuang brought them to a small river and then ordered the students of the two schools to take out their tents. Today, we'll set up camp here and spend the night in the wilderness. Liao Wushuang's words made these students excited again. Wilderness survival. This is really interesting. Now, each class has 30 people, for people to a tent. Liao Wushuang allocated a few tents to her class and kept one for herself. Form a group of 4, everyone is free to form your own team. Under Liao Wushuang's order, the students immediately moved and began to assign their teams. Li Fan originally wanted to be in Lu Zhu's team, but before Lu Zhu could join him, Lin Yuechen ran over and grabbed Li Fan's arm. And Murong didn't want to be outdone and also grabbed Li Fan's sleeve. In any case, Lu Zhu was fast enough and arrived at Li Fan's side earlier than the rest. Jin Kumo and the others were a little dissatisfied that the 4 of them had gathered together so quickly. However, in order to not lose to Li Fan's group and form a common front, the 4 women from different sects forcefully gathered together. Xia Ao, Ling Yu, Jin Jiuma, and Cheng Mohan. If these 4 women were to team up, their combat power would be off the charts. Bai Jie also pulled Wang Chen and 2 other burly men to form a small team. Basically, these 3 teams are the most competitive. Liao Wushuang has already begun to announce the next day's competition. Wilderness survival. Liao Wushuang emphasized, "When I was abroad, many foreigners thought that our Chinese children can't tell the difference between the 5 grains, and if we throw them into the wilderness, they will basically be in a state of waiting for death. But I don't think so. I believe that you can do better, and better. Now, for people in a team, complete your project. Set up camp, cook, and sleep here for the night." How about it, students? This doesn't sound difficult at all, right? The male teacher also has a smile on his face. That fake smile is a bit disgusting. "Okay, everyone do your best." Liao Wushuang clapped her hands and announced the start of the project. For people in a team, they have to complete a total of 3 tasks. For Li Fan and the others, this is indeed a very novel test. "Come, I will cook for you." Li Fan looked at the others and began to assign tasks. Chapter 690. I'll be in charge of cooking. Lu Zhu will be in charge of preparing the ingredients. Lin Yuting, you and Xiao AI will be in charge of setting up the tent. If there's any problem, I'll help you. No problem. Then I'll go. Lu Zhu turned and walked into the woods. The others who went to look for ingredients were in groups. Only Li Fan and Lin Yuechen's group could share the task. While there were no ingredients, Li Fan helped the 2 girls to set up the tent. This was a standard camping tent. It was very simple. They just needed to set up the frame and put up the canvas. However, it seemed that because of the rain, the frame was slightly rusty. Lin Yin used some strength, but she was still an ordinary girl and couldn't move it. Lin Yin used her strength for a long time, but still couldn't move it. Murong rolled her eyes at her. Then she stepped forward, pulled the frame, and easily set it up. "I really don't understand. How can a girl like you be liked? You're so useless," Murong said sarcastically. Lin Yin was so angry that she almost laughed. "It's because you're too strong. I'm the one with the strength of a normal girl," Lin Yuhsin retorted. "How can you stay by brother-in-law's side if you don't even have this little strength?" Murong AI, on the other hand, looked very pleased with herself, which made Lin Yuxian want to strangle her. This girl, how did she get into their group? But with Murong's help, the work went much more smoothly. The frame was quickly set up. Lin Yuan and Murong worked together to open the canvas and wrapped it around the tent. Tonight, are we going to sleep together? Lin Yuan looked at the size of the tent. It seemed to be able to accommodate 4 people. Of course, why do you think we're divided into groups? Murong rolled her eyes at Lin Yuan. As for Lin Yuan, she glanced at Li Fan, who was standing by the river and washing the kitchen utensils. She blushed slightly. You little girl, what nonsense are you thinking about? My brother-in-law is a decent person. He would never do those things with you. Yes, he's very serious. He's so serious that it's a complete mess. Lin Yuan nodded repeatedly. There was a deeper meaning behind her words. What are you guys talking about? Li Fan happened to raise his head and met Lin Yuan's gaze, causing Lin Yuan to panic. Yo, you guys set up the tent pretty quickly. Looking at the tent that had been set up, Li Fan could not help but praise it. At this time, only 3 groups had almost set up their tents. One was Lin Yuan's group, the other was Jin Jima's group, and the last one was Bai Jie's group. It's just SOSO. Being praised by Li Fan, Lin Yuan actually felt a little embarrassed. Hey, I'm the one who did most of the work. Murong was a little unconvinced. But you don't know how to assemble it. I'm the one who taught you. How do you know everything? Are you a human-shaped computer? Your brain is in space. If you're a martial artist, this lady will tear you apart right now. Murong said angrily. Should I be happy or sad? You should be happy. Murong glared at Lin Yuan, but Lin Yuan ignored her gaze. This little girl can't take any stimulation. Just a little stimulation and she will get angry. Although Murong was a little smart, it was nothing in Lin Yuan's eyes. For Lin Yuan, there was only one person that she really cared about, and that was Lu Zhu. I wonder what kind of ingredients they can bring back. Li Fan saw a few people came back with a bunch of mushrooms and were scolded by Liao Wushuang. These are all poisonous mushrooms, they can't be eaten. This is nothing, but a classmate actually caught a mouse and came back, scaring the girls into running around and almost treating him as the public enemy of all men. Li Fan was glad that Huang Lei was no longer in school. If he came to participate in the expansion activity, he might be able to pick up 2 baskets of cow dung and cook it. I don't know, there should be no problem handing it over to Lu Zhu. Murong said casually while helping Li Fan wash the kitchen utensils. They didn't prepare a lot of kitchen utensils. They were all brought by Lin Yuan, a small pot for cooking and some bowls and chopsticks. Li Fan has already set up the firewood and set up a bonfire. He even picked up some wood and prepared to start a fire. Without charcoal, how can we start a fire? Bai Jie took out an alcohol stove and looked at Li Fan who wanted to start a fire. She couldn't help but sneer and ridicule. Do you have any common sense? As soon as Bai Jie finished speaking, Li Fan threw down a burning match. With a wave of his hand, the pile of firewood was set ablaze. Bai Jie was dumbfounded once again. Okay, let's boil the water and boil the pot. Li Fan didn't mind. He just used his true qi to ignite the flame. For Li Fan, this was not worth mentioning, but for others, it was like magic. He is indeed a devil. Wang Chen took a long time to recover. He lowered his voice and whispered in Bai Jie's ear. That's right. So, we must kill him. Bai Jie glanced at the shotgun wrapped in a white cloth in the tent and felt somewhat at ease. Class leader. When do we do it? No hurry, wait a little longer. Oh. After a long time, the students who went out to look for ingredients came back one after another. These students found everything. Most of them were fruits and wild vegetables, a mess of everything, but many of them were inedible. Bai Jie's group, the boy who went out to look for ingredients, caught a wild rabbit. He was excited and proud, and the surrounding students praised him. However, under the severe reprimand of several girls, he couldn't bear to let the rabbit go. However, some students caught a few fish, which satisfied the taste of meat. After a long time, Lu Zhu finally came back. This guy walked slowly with heavy steps, dragging a 3-meter-tall brown bear behind him. The bear's claws and head left 3 ravines on the ground, which was shocking. The group of people went crazy. What is this situation? Lu Zhu caught a black bear and came back. Big brother, dinner? Lu Zhu threw the unconscious brown bear in front of Li Fan. The brown bear was awakened by the fall. It shook its confused head, glanced at Li Fan, and roared fiercely, scaring the surrounding students into fleeing. Lu Zhu suddenly stepped on its head and coldly said, "A mere beast dares to be presumptuous in front of my big brother? Big brother, tell me, where do you want to eat? I will chop it off for you." Everyone says this bear paw is delicious. How about a piece? Good. Good, your sister. Li Fan glared at Lu Zhu. This is also a spiritual creature. Why do you want to hurt its life to fill your stomach? Let it go. Chapter 691. The surrounding students really collapsed. This guy caught a bear. Then, Li Fan actually calmly said that he was going to release it. What kind of people are these guys? This is too incredible. Then what are we going to eat? Lu Zhu somewhat reluctantly looked at the bear. I'll catch 2 fish. Li Fan waved his hand, motioning Lu Zhu to quickly release the bear. This bear itself doesn't mean to hurt people, but how could it appear in this forest? Li Fan was a bit baffled. Since the school brought them to this camping place, they must have already set up a barrier. There shouldn't be a bear here. It should be in the back mountain. Liao Wushuang didn't put this bear in her eyes, but if it hurt the students, it would be bad. Don't release it, just watch it. When we go back, we'll send it to the back mountain. Before coming here, Liao Wushuang studied the map. The back mountain was a hunting ground, but the barrier had already been set up. Logically speaking, there shouldn't be a bear coming here. They didn't know what method this bear used to sneak here. It was its bad luck to encounter Lu Zhu. Oh, it turned out to be the back mountain. Lu Zhu's words surprised them. I was wondering why there was such a high barbed wire. I saw there were a lot of ingredients behind the barbed wire, so I jumped over. When I found this thing, I threw it back. Say, are we really not going to eat it? This thing is enough for all of us to eat. Don't make trouble, it's illegal to hunt privately. Li Fan looked at the brown bear lying there. Its pair of big eyes were filled with fear. It's still an underage bear. Li Fan judged from the bear's body. He reached out his hand and gently touched the brown bear's head. Don't be afraid, we won't hurt you. The brown bear seemed to understand Li Fan's words. It didn't say anything and obediently lay there. Be good. Li Fan made the bear behave in just a few words. This is not something an ordinary person can do. This made Bai Jie even more convinced that Li Fan was a devil in human skin. Holy shit. Tsugumi's back. Murong AI suddenly exclaimed. So what if he's back? It's not like I haven't seen him before. Lin Ying felt that Murong liked to make a fuss about nothing. She brought back a tiger. What the hell? Li Fan turned his head, and sure enough, Jin Hisao was dragging a Siberian tiger over. The students were on the verge of collapsing. What was going on? As if catching a bear wasn't enough, he had also caught a tiger. What kind of people were they? It was too scary. Bai Jie was about to cry. This Siberian tiger was privately raised by her father in the back mountain. There were 2 of them, 1 male and 1 female, waiting for them to reproduce. Now, he hadn't even seen the little tiger, but the big tiger was about to become his meal? Bai Jie was thinking of ways to save the tiger, but Li Fan had already spoken. Are you kidding me? Tigers are protected animals by the country. How can they be eaten? As soon as Li Fan's voice fell, the tiger that was knocked out also woke up. Seeing the people around it, it immediately roared. The tiger's roar shook the earth. The number 1 middle school students turned pale from fright, while the number 2 middle school students were expressionless, not afraid at all. It was as if because Li Fan was here, they didn't have any fear. That tiger was still roaring, seemingly wanting to scare these stupid humans to the ground. But Li Fan suddenly turned his head and stared at the tiger. The ferocious tiger that had been so mighty just a moment ago suddenly became well-behaved. Like a black bear, it obediently lay on the ground and did not make a sound. That's more obedient. Li Fan nodded his head in satisfaction. Stop roaring, I will send you back later. The two ferocious beasts had completely lost their ferocious appearance. Instead, they were more well-behaved than the other, like cute little pets. Under everyone's astonished eyes, the tiger walked to Li Fan's side and rubbed against Li Fan's chest like a big cat. Then, the tiger lay down beside Li Fan. Li Fan reached out his hand and gently touched its head. The tiger acted coquettishly, letting Li Fan rub its chin with his hand. These students were stunned. What's going on? Is this still a tiger? Isn't this just a little wild cat? Li Fan leaned against the tiger and sat by the river. Using a homemade fishing rod, he leisurely fished. Li Fan spread the fragrance of the bait with his true energy, luring the fish one by one to take the bait. Moreover, it was autumn, the fish in the river were fat. In a few minutes, he caught a fish. Li Fan placed a fish basket next to him. Every time he caught a fish, he would throw it into the fish basket. Looking at the other people fishing around him, they didn't catch a single fish. Occasionally, they would catch small fish and shrimps. Looking at Li Fan, one fish after another, soon the fish basket was full. The black bear, who was lying on the side just now, couldn't help it anymore. It crawled over unsteadily and nudged Li Fan with its head. "Are you hungry too?" Li Fan just caught a fish and threw it into the air. The black bear immediately stood up, more than 3 meters tall, scaring some girls into screaming. But it didn't look fierce at all. Instead, it stuck out its tongue, stared at the fish, and bit it. These two things. How are they a bear and a tiger? They are clearly a dog and a cat. And Li Fan was like an immortal, relying on the tiger to feed the giant bear. He was just short of an immortal crane to help him dance. The surrounding people were all envious. Li Fan alone had caught enough fish for many people to eat. "You have so many fish, share some with us." Cheng Mohan walked over, squatted beside the fish basket and asked. "Sure." Li Fan nodded, 50 yuan for one fish. "You're too crafty." Cheng Mohan, who has a good temper, couldn't help but want to curse. "You're just raising the price." "It's my labor." Li Fan calmly said, "If you don't want it, you don't have to buy it." "You forget it, I'll buy too." Cheng Mohan very discontentedly took out 100 or so, and Li Fan stuffed it into his pocket. "Thank you for your patronage." Li Fan waved his hand, letting the black bear catch 2 fish and put them into Cheng Mohan's hand. These two were really like pets, especially obedient to Li Fan. Even Jin Hisao was a bit jealous. Although he was known as an immortal among beasts, he didn't have Li Fan's commanding ability. "Is there anyone else who wants fish?" "Me. I want. I'll buy 3. The surrounding students all gathered around and began to buy fish from Li Fan. Fortunately, Li Fan had caught a lot of fish and was able to satisfy other people's request. In this way, everyone has the ingredients. The male teacher went to the toilet earlier. When he came back, he saw the bear and tiger and almost peed his pants. Chapter 692. What's going on? Where did the tiger and the bear come from? They're going to die. Oh my God. The male teacher's legs softened and he knelt on the ground. "Don't be afraid, they're just small animals now." Liao Wushuang comforted him. Are they still small?" The male teacher was trembling and his voice was trembling. He took out his phone and wanted to call the police but was horrified to find that there was no signal. "Don't worry, when we go back tomorrow, we'll release them back to the back mountain." Liao Wushuang's words didn't comfort the male teacher at all. Instead, it made him even more afraid. I'll go back first." The male teacher couldn't bear it anymore and turned around to leave. But Li Fan waved his hand and the bear ran over, stood in front of the male teacher and stopped him. As a teacher, even if you're really in danger, you shouldn't just leave your students and leave, right? What do you want to do?" Seeing the giant bear that was several heads taller than him, the male teacher was so scared that his pants were a bit wet. "What else can I do, fishing?" Li Fan pulled the hook again, caught a fat fish, and threw it into the fish basket. The bear seemed to be a bit greedy, its tongue was long, and it kept panting. Let me go." "I said it doesn't matter, it doesn't listen to me." Li Fan shrugged, indicating that he was just a passerby. "I want to go home." The male teacher roared, but when he saw the giant brown bear, he instantly swallowed his saliva. But the students are more important. That's right, that's what a teacher should be like. Liao Wushuang praised the male teacher, and the male teacher immediately giggled. The fear in his heart was gone, leaving only a silly smile. Don't worry, they won't hurt anyone. Liao Wushuang said again. Just do what you should do and take care of your students. I think most people are back, we can start to make dinner. Liao Wushuang winked at them. I'll eat with whoever makes the best food. Hearing this, the boys almost went berserk. To be able to eat with Teacher Liao, he would laugh even in his dreams. Li Fan divided up the fish, kept 3 for himself, and brought them to the fish pot. Murong was a little excited. She was about to throw the fish into the boiling water, but Li Fan stopped her. What are you doing? Stewed fish. Then let's clean up the fish first. Li Fan rolled his eyes at Murong. This little girl didn't even have this bit of common sense. I'll clean it up. Lin Yuzhen picked up the scissors and began to cut open the fish's stomach. Ah, you are so cruel. Watching Lin Yuzhen kill the fish, Murong AI could not help but exclaim. I'm alright. Lin Yuzhen felt that Murong AI was too naive. If you think it's cruel, don't eat it later. Lin Yuzhen was cleaning up the fish while Lu Zhu was biting her tongue, adding a lot of ingredients to the pot. Fuck, Lu Zhu, what are you putting in? Li Fan suddenly saw Lu Zhu's action and quickly pulled her back. It's delicious. Lu Zhu said in a serious manner. Delicious your ass. This mushroom is poisonous. Li Fan looked at the mushroom in Lu Zhu's hand, sweating on his forehead. This mushroom is so beautiful, how could it be poisonous? Fuck, you better stay away from the kitchen. Wait a minute, salt is a good thing, put more. Lu Zhu picked up a jar of salt and was about to pour it into the boiling water, but Li Fan stopped her. Lu Zhu, you don't have any talent in cooking. Who said so? Lu Zhu's eyes widened. How could there be something I don't know? I'm an all-rounder. Lu Zhu had indeed learned a little bit of everything and was known as an encyclopedia. There was almost nothing she didn't know. Cooking is a creative thing. Lu Zhu said in a serious manner, a lot of recipes are created in a moment of inspiration. I believe this dish of mine will definitely be amazing, maybe it can be included in the recipe. He said with a confident face, I even thought of a name, it's called Romance in the Wild. And you don't say, it's not bad. Li Fan tasted Lu Zhu's romantic soup and nodded. Looks like you really have some talent in cooking. I knew it. Lu Zhu filled a big bowl. Come, drink it all. Come, let's drink together. Li Fan smiled. Good brother, let's share. Lu Zhu drank a mouthful and directly vomited a mouthful of blood. Is this even for a human to drink? What do you think? Li Fan rolled his eyes at Lu Zhu. My soul almost left my body, okay? Then why did you say it's delicious? Otherwise, why would you drink it? You bastard. Lu Zhu was a little angry. He picked up a big pot of hot soup and was about to pour it away when he was stopped by Li Fan. What? Since it's not delicious, just pour it away. Lu Zhu said angrily. Don't, I'm thirsty. As Li Fan spoke, he picked up the hot pot and drank all the soup in one gulp. Hey, you. Lu Zhu was a little puzzled, but Li Fan had already put the pot on the ground, and the soup inside was completely drunk by him. You. Lu Zhu asked, if it's not delicious, why did you drink it all? I told you I'm thirsty. Li Fan licked his lips. His mouth was extremely bitter. He didn't know what this guy had put in his mouth. Aren't you afraid I'll poison you to death? Lu Zhu curled his lips. This soup was disgusting even for him. It was really hard for Li Fan to drink it. It's okay, it's not bad. It seems my skill is quite good. Lu Zhu said with a grin. Otherwise, how could you drink it? Roar. The bear seemed to be a little greedy. It stuck out its tongue and licked the pot of soup. The ferocious giant beast was immediately stunned and fainted on the ground. Black lines appeared on Lu Zhu's forehead. He didn't want to talk anymore. You stop messing around. The fish soup is almost done. Lin Yian was also stewing the fish soup. The aroma has spread out. Some of the surrounding students couldn't help but start drooling. This is the real soup. Murong AI couldn't help but secretly drink a spoonful. Not bad, it seems you're not a good-for-nothing girl. Humph, I don't need you to say it. You only know how to eat ready-made food. Lin Yuan rolled her eyes at Murong AI. Murong AI giggled and said, I'm a mental worker. This physical work, I'll leave it to you. Other students also did a good job, but most of the dinner was not good. Some of them made it to the same level as Lu Zhu, which was hard to swallow. At this time, Liao Wushuang came over and sat in front of them. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.